Okay, I'll call it out. In the top right-hand corner, spawning in as the red Protoss, we have ISL 3 Semih, a very well-known player in the foreigner scene, been around for a very long time. No matter what you think of him, very, very good player. Likely to make a strong showing here. Bottom left-hand corner, we have ISL 3 Dyslexic, and if we could take a little bit of a look at his name, we do in fact see that he is spelling it all crazy, but we're going to call him Dyslexic because it's much easier to pronounce than dyslexic. And with that, I presume Hacklebeast has finished doing the overlays. Hacklebeast,
Indeed, I am.
Who would you tip to win this game?
Obviously, Semih's going to be the favorite. As you said, he's been around for a very long time, consistent A player. Went a little bit inactive, but he's been back and participating in Gambit Cups and whatnots long enough that the rust, so to speak, is really worn off. Compared to an unknown player, Dyslexic's really going to have to do something special. And actually, I'm already surprised right off the bat, because Dyslexic isn't normally a PvP player. He race picks, and he normally picks ZVP. So I was expecting to see some ZVPs in this group, but if Dyslexic is playing PvP, then I guess we have an all-Protoss group.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, there's a couple of ways to look at that. A lot of people don't really like PvP. A lot of people think it's boring, but I don't know where they get that idea from. It looks like, in fact, as well, we're going to see an early Nexus from Semih, I think. He's queuing up a lot of probes. Anyway, that aside, we'll see what happens. But yeah, a lot of people seem to think PvP is extremely boring. I actually find it a very strategic matchup. I find it very interesting. There's often a lot of action, some fascinating micro, of course, when you see shuttles and reavers come into play. Yes, yes indeed, it does look like we're going to have a fast Nexus from Semih against the more standard stuff from the bottom left-hand corner of the map. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, a very heavy micro-based matchup, and I think it actually allows for a lot of very fascinating stuff if you just give it a chance. So don't go tuning out, don't go panicking, it's going to be good.
PvP definitely falls into the category of it's very deep once you understand what's going on. Ooh. Ooh. Dyslexic hasn't even scouted the 12 next yet.
Yeah.
Which makes that all the more intriguing. But it looks like Dyslexic threatening to proxy a little something there.
Well, this could be a very, very big deal because of this 12 next. I mean, 12 next can be halfway decent against this kind of thing, because often a very common transition is to go for the double gateway directly off that 12 nexus, but against the proxy, you can still have a lot of trouble. There's going to be a lot of zealots there, if it is what we think it might be.
He's already thrown down the cyber core. If he's going to proxy something, I think it's going to be a proxy of higher tech units, either Shuttle Reaver or more likely Dark Templars. And the 12 nex, ooh. Semih going for the Korean version of the 12 next, though, not going for the 2 gateways, going for the very fast forge. If, in fact, Dyslexic is going for Dark Templar, Semih is going to hard counter this brutally.
But if Dyslexic, however, is going for the Robo in close proximity, he can in fact just skip shuttle altogether, make a Reaver straight away, walk the Reaver up to photon cannons and completely bust through the front door. This can go 2 ways at this point, i.e. Semih hard countering Dyslexic or Dyslexic hard countering Semih. Those are the 2 options.
Yeah, and Dyslexic does have a probe in there. He sees the forge, so going for Templar at this point would be a huge mistake on his part. I'm actually curious what he's going to do, because he's getting goon range back at home.
Yeah.
Is he just not going to use the proxy?
I really think he ought to, now that he's seen that build. Yes, it looks like that probe is looping back around to get to that pylon. And I do really hope he's going to do that, because when he's got his head screwed on, he should see that this is an absolutely great opportunity for him to do some huge damage here. It looks like he's going to lay something down. It's a Robo! Yes, Dyslexic makes the right decision. I was so worried that he was going to throw down a Citadel, and that would have been an absolute nightmare, but it is a Robo. We are going to see possibly an absolute hard counter against Semih's build.
Yep. He's still going to have to be very careful, though. Reavers can have a tendency to get a little bit stupid at times and walk into cannon range when they the cannon's range when they should be able to range it. If you're not babysitting it super carefully, you can lose your first Reaver, and all of a sudden Semih has enough time to get up an appropriate number of goons to snipe the second Reaver once it waddles its way all the way over. Because while these bases look very close, you have to think about it in terms of Reaver distance. In terms of Reaver distance, it's going to take a really long time for the Reaver to actually get there. Semih does have quite a bit more time to get out some Dragoons to potentially snipe the Reaver.
Yeah, he does definitely have the time. if he times it absolutely perfectly. He could still have difficulty though. Yes, we do have the robotic support going down immediately. It looks like we are going to see the Reaver doing the walking actions of the cannons. But yeah, the Dragoon range is going to be the important thing. Dragoon range should kick in time. Should kick in at roughly the same time as the Reaver pops out of the robo, so that should be alright for Semih. But he has to micro very carefully because, of course, if we see a decent wall of Dragoons in front of the Reaver from dyslexic and he's able to protect it from the Goon fire, then it's going to be very difficult for Semih to hold this off. Meanwhile, we do have both those gateways pumping away for our Protoss in the bottom left-hand corner, so this is quite all in at this stage, unless he does some very heavy economic damage.
Yep, and actually, Semih's going to push out here, realizing that Dyslexic is only sitting there with 2 goons. Now, it's a little bit of a problem for Dyslexic to lose these goons because he just needs units to tank Reaver shots and make it really difficult, or at least really costly, if Semih wants to step forward and try to snipe. But forcing the goons back and killing off one of them is certainly going to be a good help for him. Although Semih's actually leaving, he still doesn't realize there's a proxy there, and the Reaver is almost done. This is going to be a really dangerous situation for both players.
Yeah, I'd say this is really on the edge right now. If Dyslexic can get Semih back and can get there and protect his Reaver, it's going to be nice for him. However, it looks like this could be a little bit iffy. Big engagement going down, and Dyslexic's actually going to come off worse. He has the inferior Dragoon count. He needs to pull back. Semih doing a nice job. This build has really worked out well for him. He's got a good number of Dragoons up. However, we do have the Reaver already out, and I believe he's producing a shuttle now as well. So soon he should be able to get some decent harassing. Will Semih have any inkling about this, and will Dyslexic be able to hold on at all? These Dragoons are getting demolished by the superior micro from the red Protoss. He might actually bash all the way through all these Dragoons here. Dyslexic is in a whole heap of trouble, managing to equalise it fairly well though in the end. And he just needs to get back across the map and get threatening.
Yep, a good move by Dyslexic, though, realizing that a lone Reaver walking across would be a very dangerous position. It wouldn't be worth it without the Dragoon escort. So he's modifying his plans a little bit, getting the late shuttle, and is now going to go for some Reaver harass instead. With all the cannons in the front, Semih has no defenses. He's just going to have to rely on gateway units coming out. How much damage can this Reaver do?
Nothing.
Not a lot.
I think he took it too far into the back of the base. He needed to catch in front of the probe, so it went boom all over the front of the probe line. Because when the probes are running away from the Reaver, it's never really going to land a decent shot. It looks like the Dragoons might actually be able to catch the shuttle. Oh no, Dyslexic, don't let this happen. And the shuttle is toast. The Dragoons walking right underneath it, going to get one shot off, but that's nowhere near enough. Oh no, and the second one pops as well, just at the wrong time. Dyslexic, I think his time in this game is incredibly short at this point. We already have Semih on 2 very well saturated base, 2 Reavers and a shuttle having gone down. Proxy, a complete failure, and Dyslexic is now behind in every way a man can be.
Even if he had gotten off the best Scarab shot in history, catching the proxy is going to mean that there was no way he could come back in this game. GG from Dyslexic.
Yeah, GG.
Semih takes the first game very quickly.
That is disappointing because I think Dyslexic had a great chance in that game to make his build really work for him, but he was too careless with the Dragoons and lost that positioning, which was really entirely essential.
Yep. Alright, so as you can see, we're going to go into the second game of this group, which will be Jumper versus Wallace.
Cool.
So, getting the game up. Game has been hosted. Are you still there?
I am still here. I was just trying to make the name work. Oh, yeah, that was a very nice game from Semih. He was really calm, just micro-distributing very well, and yeah, gave Dyslexic no edgeways, and it was really pretty one-sided as a result.
All right, so let's start game number 2. Jumper versus Wallace.
I can hear birds in the background, by the way. But that's just part of the fun.
Your background or my background?
No, your background. I'm getting
really?
bird song. Yeah, it's very good.
Oh.
Really adds to the atmosphere.
Wow. I could not hear that through my headphones, but yeah, there are some very loud birds outside.
Yeah, they're not making your life any easier, but it's okay. It's kind of gives it a whole Snow White kind of feeling. In the top left-hand corner, spawning in as the yellow Protoss, we have ISL3 Jumper. Expect DTs, guys. This guy is absolute king DT. in every matchup. So yeah, watch out for that. In the bottom left-hand corner, we have ISL 3 Wallace coming in as the orange Protoss. I hope he remembers to make observers or cannons, or maybe even both against this dude, because Jumper's going to break out the cloak stuff.
Yep. Jumper definitely known as the player most associated with DTs in 4 and Brood War. But given his tendencies towards that unit, it's easy to overlook him and just kind of write him off as, oh, he cheeses a lot. Jumper is quietly one of the best foreign Protosses out there. He's really talented in his matchups where he doesn't go DTs anyway. He takes games routinely off of the best players we have. So don't overlook him just because he likes DTs. Think of him more like Michael, where Michael cheeses a lot, but nobody writes off Michael as a dirty cheeser. Everybody respects his play. That's definitely the type of mentality you should take with Jumper. Play him straight up, but just be wary of that.
Yeah, he's not gonna go easy. He's gonna make sure that this stuff works, or he's gonna die trying. I mean, I've seen games where he looked to be completely out of it, just somehow he's managed to strategize his way back into it, and that's his strong point. Yeah, his strategy, and really not a bad word to say about that. DTs are cool. They're in the game. You may as well use them to kill your opponent. We have from Jumper laying down the one zealot before he goes for a cyber core. So this is going to be a 2 zealot opening from him. So maybe we're going to see a little bit of early game harass versus Wallace's 1 zealot opening. Not quite such an economical one from Wallace, because he's going to have to cut probes briefly in order so he can get that pylon out in time. Not too much of a big deal. Jumper's looking content to chase that orange probe around his base with the zealot for the time being. Oh, a little bit confused, but managing to just survive.
Yeah. We're not going to see any early Nexus this game, and both players seem to be going for something a little bit more standard. So hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit more of later PvP action and get to see some of that micro that you were hyping up in Game 1.
Oh yeah. Well, we still saw some cool micro in Game 1.
We did.
Semih
We did.
Really made the Dragoons count, but yeah, nothing to the level of what I would be hoping to see throughout these games.
It's real, those opening skirmishes in a PvP, the 5 goon on 5 goon, it's really more a foreplay. It's kind of nice, but it's just leading up towards the good stuff.
Yeah, but there's always this awareness that if it goes wrong, you're not getting any of the good stuff.
Right. So, on a completely unrelated note, this just occurred to me, like, through the course of the week. I like the unintentional dichotomy of our names.
Oh yeah?
Elegant, Hackle Beast. You're like the British guy with the fancy accent, I'm the American. It, like, works.
It does work. It's good stuff. I mean, we wouldn't want, like, 2 Americans or 2 British guys. Who care about that, you know? We got the kind of, yeah, dual nationality thing going on.
Jumper with a very early robo facility just off of 1 gateway, and he's putting it very far forward, which is interesting. That's the position you put it for where, so that you can get Reavers down faster.
Yeah, wouldn't be entirely surprised to see a Reaver without shuttle expansion build. This is a good map for it, in fact, because kind of you have a good defensible position right here at your natural where you can hold. Yeah, we wouldn't be too shocked. And the other side of things, we do have the second and third gateways going down from Wallace. I think Jumper would actually be in a decent position if he does in fact go for the slow reap. Oh no, he's laid down the second and third gateway in fact. So disregard what I was saying.
Yeah, I agree with your assessment. I think that if he does go Reaver with, he's not going Reaver. He went.
No, not apparently.
He's going. He went 1 gateway robo and then fast observatory. That's
observatory and 3 gate. I don't quite understand. I'm sure it'll be all apparent to us in just a minute. We do have a little bit of pressure coming in from Wallace. Jumper should be okay with this though. If he splits his zealots well and gets a good micro from the Dragoons, Wallace needs to be very, very careful though. He can't be losing these Dragoons. This can come off really, really badly for Wallace. He needs to be more careful. Losing a lot of Dragoons in this engagement potentially. He loses 1. Looks like the rest are going to have to be forced to pull back if they can. But Jumper might be able to shut them all down right away. Going to maybe be able to block the bridge. Oh no, the final Dragoon for Wallace is going to go down. Absolute disaster in the early game, and that's that foreplay you're talking about, and it just went horribly wrong for Wallace.
Wallace made a mistake there, but it didn't. I don't think that was the kind of mistake that came out of a misclick. I think he didn't realize Jumper had 2 extra Dragoons on the high ground, so he was moving in to try to trap off Jumper's Dragoons, and then realized, oh wait, I'm actually surrounded and outnumbered. And he was in far too bad of a position to actually retreat out of there. So I think he just made an assessment mistake rather than an execution mistake there. But whatever the reason was, that's really going to hurt him. A 3 or 4 Dragoon disadvantage this early in the game has a tendency to really snowball, and it allows Jumper to put on a lot of pressure here. Wallace trying to move across the bridge again. He's going to move into a bad position, but he does have more numbers. He's going to force Jumper to move back momentarily. 3 more goons on the way, though. And now Jumper has the upper hand. Wallace is going to need to retreat. Doing some nice micro here for both players.
Yeah, to expand on what you were saying before, I think it was an assessment problem, but it was also a bit of a game sense issue. Wallace should have been aware that there would be more Dragoons in the way. He should have been poking in just to kind of check, and he got way too impetuous and just chucked away a whole bunch of Dragoons. And now his forces split, so this could jump a really nice opportunity to kind of to keep that expansion from happening for as long as possible while he lays down his own. And in the meantime, we still don't have Reaver tech, so it looks like it is just going to be observers from Jumper. Intelligently knowing that he can lay down his expansion now and cut Dragoons just for a minute.
And meanwhile, Wallace's first Reaver is already halfway out. So yeah, Jumper's Reaver is going to be significantly later as the Robo support is just finishing up now. The Reaver does take a while to get up. But it's interesting how Jumper's going about this game. I mean, he has a nice advantage, and he's going to have that much faster expansion. Wallace not in a good position to take one anytime soon. But it's just kind of weird how he's going to kind of subtly let Wallace take a tech advantage as Wallace's Shuttle and Reaver are now on the move.
I think Jumper can be happy to do that, though, because when your Dragoon count is very far ahead, then you can afford to. Although Jumper, having said that, his Dragoon count is ahead, not that ahead. I think, however, yeah, he does have an observer, so he does see the Reaver in the shuttle. I'm surprised, though, that Wallace, given that he seems to be sticking pretty much on a one-base kind of thing, hasn't gone for a speed shuttle at all, because that would be his main route back into this game, would be trying to get some massive harass on the economy of Jumper, but no speed shuttle makes microing a little bit difficult.
Yeah, Speed Shuttle is a pretty heavy investment in something that doesn't actually do damage, and yes, it makes harass a lot stronger, but sometimes players can find it hard to justify that when you want to be using all your gas on more Reavers, more Dragoons.
No, it's a heavy investment, no doubt, but kind of weighing it up, I always just see that all you need to kill is maybe 6 probes or so, and that investment's paid off. And if you're conservative and clever with your shuttle, it really shouldn't be too difficult to just whip in, get 6 probe kills, and whip back out again. I think it can pay for itself very, very quickly.
Well, definitely a judgment call either way. You can't. You gotta choose one. Both of them are technically right, but it looks like Wallace is gonna go for slow shuttle, and he's going to try to expand here with the 2 Reavers on the other side of the bridge. He's actually going to be relatively safe. It doesn't seem like Jumper wants to move out anytime soon, as he's building now his second Reaver without shuttle. So both players.
Sorry, go on.
So both players are going to be kind of satisfied with just sitting around. Actually, Wallace is moving out now. Ooh. I don't know how this is going to work out for Wallace. Jumper is in a great position and has like a 20 supply lead. Excuse me, 30 supply lead on Wallace. Yeah,
big supply lead. That's scary for Wallace. I don't know how he's going to make any way in. If he's going to make his way in, then it may as well be now, because a lot of that supply lead is currently going to be in probes. Which doesn't mean, of course, the economy is stronger, but it's going to take a while to kick in. He lands the... Oh no, he lands the Reavers down and instantly lets the shuttle get away from him, dashing with his Dragoons to try and micro down the Reavers. Good job microing one down. We need to pull the Dragoons back. Oh no, what an incredibly nice concave there from Jumper. And picks up a Reaver just as the shuttle goes down as well. Still a good opportunity to do some decent damage, but way too slow in pulling his Dragoons back, and he was just shoved into that bottleneck where Jumper was able to do massive amounts of damage and ultimately destroying the entire force from Wallace. And that leaves the supply counts looking pretty telling. We have 71 for Jumper, and at the other side of things we have just 40 for Wallace.
And the weird thing is, Wallace has actually, after that engagement, actually decreased the supply deficit, because he was even worse before that engagement. Yeah, it was a strong start out for him. There were two very spread out reavers for jumper, and he sniped the close
harass,
one.
Harass.
Oh
No.
Oh, and he's clumping him up
no.
even more. Oh, Wallace. That's not how you defend against reaver harass.
No, that's very, very bad times for Wallace. I mean, Jumper loses the Reaver, but Wallace has barely a base worth of probes left, and yeah, he's sat on pretty much zero economy right now, whilst Jumper is absolutely booming. Manages to escape with the shuttle as well. Very, very bad times for Wallace, and I realistically can't see a way back into this for him.
Nope.
He'd have to be Jumper to get back into this game.
And you know what? You might be able to make the argument that the reason that engagement didn't go so well for him was because he lost 4 Dragoons in the early game. If he had 4 extra Dragoons in that attack, where Jumper only managed to come out with 2 Dragoons and a Reaver of his own, would that have been enough to win the battle? Maybe. It really might have been. But because he didn't have that, he lost the battle. It allowed for the Reaver harass to go down, where he would have killed that Reaver anyway, and now he's in a completely unwinnable position.
I think honestly that Wallace had the possibility to win that battle anyway. We can see that from his engagement angle. If we take a look at the map, he was forced right into that bottleneck, and kind of that was a bit by choice. If he'd have led with the Reavers a little bit better, kept his Dragoons a little bit further back and formed a concave, maybe using that ramp to his advantage instead of wandering straight into that great position for Jumper, it could have been a different story. But yeah, he basically binned all these units in one there. Pretty nasty stuff.
Stepping the Dragoons forward to snipe the Reaver was good, but as you said, the biggest mistake he made in that battle was not pulling back it back. And now here comes Jumper going in for more harass.
DT.
This time with DTs, and I do not see any cannons here. I do not see any observers here.
Oh no. Oh no, Jumper's going to set to work here. I mean, where's the nearest observer? I can't.
He just started to.
See one. Oh no, so it looks like these DTs are going to do a whole lot of damage. What's Jumper going to go for? He's just kind of wandering around with the DTs. I think he's trying to hide them a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like he wants to hide one. Other one's going to focus on the Nexus, but the observer should be able to get out in time to save that. But still,
but even a lot of mining time's gone, isn't it? I mean, still mining nothing at the main base. Naturals for us looking pretty well saturated though, so that's a plus.
I don't know if he lost that much mining time. I mean, he was kind of half saturated at both bases anyway, so really, was it that much lost?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been that much. If he was fully saturated, it would have been maybe 400 minerals or so, but nah, not so much of a big deal. Oh, another DT in the natural as well, so Jumper just trying to keep the probes off minerals for as long as possible. All the probes are run away from the natural, and at the other end of the map we can see Jumper's building up a fantastic force. He's got 2 Reavers still sat out there, he's got Dragoons, he's got High Templar, he's got the works. And now he's making some very odd structures in his base. Don't need to worry about that. Looks weird.
Yeah, a little bit crowded, but...
Yeah, I looked at it and was like, is he making like 1 million cannons or something? But he's just doing this weird pylon setup stuff. Oh well, whatever works for you, whatever works.
I love how every player lays out their base the same way every game, but every Protoss player is different from every other Protoss player.
Yeah, that always cracks me up, and sometimes you get some really neat ones, and I just hate the ones that look all haphazard all over the place. I can't be dealing with it. There is one man, though, who is the king of base layout, and that would be Harangi, of course. He makes the prettiest bases in history. He does it.
He did. Or he does, excuse me. Although, he makes the prettiest bases in history, yet I will always remember him as the player who built 4 forges.
Yeah, who could forget?
that was funny. Oh, and the camera caught his reaction when he realized he had 4 forges. Good stuff.
That was a genius moment.
Anyway,
we have a little bit of harass coming in from Wallace. He's going to try and get a nice storm drop over the natural. Just as Jumper moves out, so this could actually do some decent damage. It's only going to be 1 storm at most, though. He needs to drop a zealot down to take some hits.
Oh.
And why didn't he drop a zealot down to take some hits first? Dropping 3 zealots down, I don't know that they're going to do all that much damage. He needs to pick up that High Templar and run away just as fast as possible. He doesn't want that High Templar to go down, but he seems perfectly content to bin it and run the shuttle away, which I suppose is good enough. But right now, Jumper looks like he's making ready to crush Wallace. We can see the supply difference has absolutely skyrocketed. We can see we can see Jumper now, excuse me, with the double supply of Wallace, while Wallace is sitting in his natural with pretty much 1.5 control groups. Jumper is about to barrel down on him with maybe 3 control groups in total, complete with all kinds of fun tech and Reavers as well into the bargain. So let's see if Wallace can kill anything in this attack coming up right here.
Yeah, Jumper's at the point where if he A-moved, I don't think there's a way he could lose this. No. Wallace needs to micro better than any Protoss player has microed before, but there is just too much stuff here and not enough Storm. The Templar go down, I think there was only 1 Storm cast, and there are still so many Zealots, so many Dragoons, all just marching forward, now starting to take out gateways. GG from GG.
Wallace unable to micro his time machine well enough to undo the damage done throughout the early game, and Jumper just storms right through him in the end there. But very strong showing from Jumper, proving that he's not going to be taken out easily at all.
Indeed. So we will be moving on to the final game. Or excuse me, not the final game. The winner's game. The winner's game between Semih and Jumper. But first, we are going to play. We're going to play the group vid. The group's vid that Dan Number Guys made. We finally got this to work with the cast, and it's just so cool. We want to show everybody it. Oh, never mind. I did not get it to work.
What happened?
Man,
of course I can't see it. I'm in the dark.
It just goes black, and then nothing comes up. And it happened like before the cast. I was testing it, that happened. I was like, oh no, it didn't work. Quick, let me go and re-put it on. Did I re-put it on? Then it worked perfectly. And now it's not working again.
Is it the wrong format?
No, I don't think it's the wrong format.
Strange.
Because it did work at one point. It no longer works now. Well, that's a shame.
That is a shame, right. But oh well, we'll just have to move on. Life continues.
Indeed. If you haven't seen Dan's group vid, it's definitely worth hunting out. So go poke around for that. If you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, just kind of remember how awesome it was, and then think about if I had played it, and then go, oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we're ready to go into the next game. I am in the replay, almost got the file as well, so that'll be all good. Yeah, this is of course the winners match between Jumper and Semih, so this is where it really starts to get scary. We're going to have these two guys going at it against each other. Not quite sure who I tipped to win this, but let's see if Semih can hold off Jumper's crazy stuff. I thoroughly expect Jumper to bring out the madness this game.
I hope so.
Okay. So on the left-hand side, spawning in is the orange Protoss. We have ISL 3 Jumper. We're going to be watching him closely this game to see what he's going to do. And at the top of the map, spawning in as the purple Protoss, we have ISL 3 Semih. These two heavyweights are going to be doing their absolute best to kill each other out of the tournament. Of course, the winner of this match will go through the group stage 2-0. The loser of this match will have to go on to play another game. Yeah, so we'll see what goes on with that. If anyone has not yet done so, please head over to Reddit and upvote the thread for this particular cast. Any views we can get are highly desired, even if it's only on Reddit. I know some of you guys might look down on the community a little bit, but even so, it is important. There are a lot of people there who could very much enjoy Brood War. Also, if you're looking for news on ISL and what is going to be happening, go over to altitudeisl.net, where you can see all the groups, all the results, and all the stuff that's coming up.
A little bit of friendly banter between the players. Semih and Jumper are teammates on GT for the purposes of Gambit's Cup, and they had a match yesterday, a very exciting match. If you have not seen it yet, VODs will be up later today, so you can go check that out. But we have games to be casted now, and is Semih? No, Semih's not going to go for 12 necks again. Darn. Would have liked to have seen the 12 necks once again, because I like to see how different players react to the build and see the subtle adjustments Semih can make. But nope, seems like both players are going to play standardly this time, as the gateway is getting pretty close to finished.
Yeah, Yeah, I think it's all going to be pretty normal stuff, at least in the opening. We have identical timings so far. And yeah, okay, so Jumper's going to be scouting Semi a little bit early. So this might give Jumper a little bit of an advantage early on. If he produces a Zealot, then he might be able to block Semi out from scouting completely. It does look like he's going to produce a Zealot. Whether he goes to harass with that or not is anybody's guess at this point. But of course, it's always cool when you can deny the scouting. Because if that Zealot blocks around, there's going to be no real way in for a little while.
Now, the map is Aztec, and it's always worth mentioning in this matchup, it's going to be a reverse ramp map. Reverse ramp maps really do favor the aggression, because sitting at the bottom of the ramp in a lot of PvPs doesn't matter. When you have the high ground looking down, you can just kind of push out at any point. The opponent's going to get a little bit faster expansion, but it's not really a big thing. You can fit it into your game plan to allow the opponent to contain you for a certain amount of time. On a reverse ramp, though, you're in dire straits as soon as your opponent puts in a contain. Just because getting vision is so hard, all those missed chances with the big Dragoon on Dragoon battles is so hard. Getting your Dragoons to try to funnel up the ramp so that you have vision is a monumental task.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's something
really horrible.
It's something you always need to keep in mind on reverse ramp maps. So, on Aztec, on Jade, on Aztec, on Jade, on that other blue map. What's that? I'm trying to remember that other blue map. What's it called?
I'm trying to think of it now as well.
Chain reaction. Electric circuit. Electric circuit.
Electric circuit. Yes, that's the one. Map knowledge failing us.
Yeah.
See Jumper being a little bit less than pro with his scouting pro, but I did go down to his Zealot, which is slightly unfortunate. That denies him knowledge of whether he's going to be seeing Rover, whether he's going to be seeing DTs. So yeah, that's a little bit of a mistake from him, pretty much equaling out the disadvantage for Semi not being able to get his probe into Jumper's base. Yeah, as you were saying before, it is really absolutely 100% important on these maps that you manage to hold the front of your base, because if you let yourself get contained at that ramp, it's going to be almost impossible to break out. Of course, Jumper, thank you very much for satisfying us. He has laid down the Citadel of Adun and now laying down the Templar Archives, so this is going to be cool. Yeah, we're going to see Jumper do what he does best.
Indeed, also getting the very quick Forge. Most likely to counter DTs in case his opponent had also gone that tech route. But
yeah.
Semi is not. He's going for... he went Robo first and getting a gateway down. Even if he does go get Reavers... If he gets Reavers before Observer, it's going to be very tight. But if he goes Observer first, Jumper is going to have a lot of difficulties. As Semi's going to obviously be able to counter the DTs, and Jumper's economy will not be terribly well off. Behind that, normally when you go for DTs, you go for a very... normally when you go for DTs, you go for a quick expansion, but it can be easily punished by the fast observers. The moment I took pauses, I realized Jumper actually went for DTs off of a single gateway. So he's not...
Yeah, he did. This is...
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. This is quite an old school build. I remember the first time I saw this, I believe it was on Match Point. And it is actually a pretty good build. I mean, it's not a hugely aggressive one, but it does allow for pretty much all the same advantages that a 2-gate DT play allows for, but of course, it just allows you to get that much quicker next as well, because you save that extra 125 cash on not making a second DT, and actually an extra 150 as well on not making a second gateway. So it's really actually pretty neat if you want to get an expansion up. And we do not see Reavers coming in from Semi, so this could actually work out pretty nicely for Jumper as long as he can get his defense sorted against pure goo.
I don't know if I like DTs off of just one gateway, because when you get two DTs, the thing that players can normally do, assuming that they get countered, is they keep one at the front and then one at their base, so that you have to force your opponent to make multiple observers and have their observers in good positions at 2 locations. You can try to abuse them on 2 fronts, but with only 1 DT, that means Semi only needs a single observer to lock it down and make sure that there will be no shenanigans. And
but he doesn't necessarily know that yet, because he's seen 1 DT. He doesn't necessarily know that there isn't a second one out there, so he does need at least 2 observers before he can happily do any kind of push.
Yeah, well, he will be getting a second observer out anyway. He's now heading over towards his base, and he's going to see another DT now coming out. And the expansion timings are actually going to be very similar, with Semi just beating out Jumper, which is a little bit of an oddity, but just because of the fact that Semi got out the very fast observer, He was fast enough that he didn't have to worry about a DT attack.
Yeah.
Alright. Well,
yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how this works with Jumper. We can see that he's transitioning into a standard storm kind of thing, and this is to protect against kind of Reaver timing attacks. A lot of the time you can have the storm ready by the time there's actually a 2 Reaver timing attack coming to your base, so that's pretty cool. We don't have the storm, oh no, excuse me, we do have the storm upgrade coming in already, so you can see just how early that is. Of course, you have to use it pretty sparingly. You chuck away 1 storm and suddenly you've barely got a leg to stand on in terms of defense. However, Jumper is looking a little bit superior in terms of probe count. He's been pumping off the 2 Nexuses for just a little bit longer, but it shouldn't make too much of a huge difference. Semi's been quite calm and just kind of accepted a bit of a tech deficit, but he's starting to catch up now. He's got the Templar Archives on the way up and producing a shuttle as well, so we could well see a storm drop coming in from our Purple Process friend.
I'm actually curious what he's going to use that shuttle for. Storm Drop's obviously very good on this map because of the cliffable natural, but at the same time, he hasn't researched Storm yet. He hasn't even started it. It's going to take me a really long time, so that would just be a very early shuttle. Is he just going to try to lift in a couple of Dragoons up onto that high ground?
Oh, that's also very possible. Yeah, they can pretty much always pay for themselves, as long as you're sure that you can defend yourself at home.
Yeah. It could also be a defense.
STTs.
Ah, okay. So going to be.
I don't know why we didn't consider that. But Jumper's ready for this. I mean, there is an observer in Jumper's main from semis, so he's going to see that photon cannon. So he should know that he's not going to be able to do too much with these. But maybe they'll be able to kind of skirt around the edges. There is, of course, no robo up yet from Jumper at all. We do have one warping into the natural, but he might even lose a few gateways to this, and possibly shouldn't really lose any of his outlying tech. But maybe his gazer as well, and that could be pretty nasty for him.
Yeah, that cannon does make it very hard for Jumper. He could try to skirt around, take out some things on the peripherals. He could go for the really risky play and just drop on top of the cannon, hope to take it out very quickly, but no. He's just going to play it safe, try to pick off some of the things. Obviously, that one cannon does not do a very good job of covering the entire base, so the DT should be able to pick off a gateway or 2 before Jumper's really able to react. I don't even think that cannon is going to quite be in range. Ooh!
Oh.
Getting fancy, storing both of the Dark Templar, and they are both very injured now. That was cute.
It's fancy, but I don't know if it's great for Jumper. He needs to be preserving those storms, and in fact he needs to preserve his High Templar as well, so we can get Archons with him. Oh, just managing to run the High Templar away from so that it survives through shield regeneration and can actually manage to take 2 hits. But there's still 1 DT in Jumper's main, having a little bit of a crack. So this is a pretty nice response from Semi, just doing what little bit of damage he can. Soaking up a couple of storms there from Jumper. Nice job. The observatory is finally here, so in a second we will have an observer coming in for Jumper. Making a shuttle first though, so this could well be a storm drop from him. Unfortunately, he's lost a High Templar and used up 2 storms already though.
Yeah. Definitely arguable whether storming the DTs would have been worth it if he had done it perfectly, but by exposing his High Templars, certainly Semi came out the better of that. If you can keep those Templar numbers down, you can find yourself in a good point to engage where your opponent does not have the appropriate number of storms. Although I don't know if Jumper's going to run into that problem just because of how many High Templars he has. He has just so many. Loading up 2 High Templar, 2 Zealots, and going to move out, while Semi seems to be positioning his army to take his mineral only.
Storm drop at Jumper's natural coming in now. We have Semi moving a shuttle into position. He's going to be able to land those storms down onto the high ground. Will he be able to get a decent storm off? It looks like he definitely is going to be able to. Jumper has so many cloak probes out there. We're going to see storm. Have they got energy? I can't see the energy. He is going to storm them. Okay, there we go. Just wait for the shuttle vision. So many probes go down. We have 7 kills on 1 High Templar, 7 kills on both. So that's 14 kills in total. However, the other end, we could have such a huge storm.
Nice.
Massive storm from Jumper as well. Oh, and a second too. Almost catching a whole stack of probes, very close, but doing pretty much equal amounts of damage. That basically leveled itself out. But Jumper now needs to be able to get up onto that cliff and clear out those High Templar out there, otherwise they will continue to do damage pretty much all game, which is miserable stuff. And yeah, doing a good job in not running any probes back to his natural just yet. Jumper playing a little bit conservative there, and Semi actually getting a 3rd base up already. Jumper doing the same thing. So both players setting up for a really long game here.
Actually, a little scary how symmetric that was. Semi getting 14 total kills, Jumper getting 15 total kills. But Jumper had a couple extra Zealots in there to help tank some hits. As you said, on the net is going to be about even. But, finally getting them. Using the Templar. Templar, very nice option, just because one storm can kill them, and there's not a good space to run away there, especially considering how slow Templar are. What are the upgrades looking like? Looks like Jumper has gotten +1, and Semih... Trying to see... Okay, Semih has +1 with +2 just starting.
Yeah, they're pretty much in the same position if Jumper starts +2 pretty quickly, which
Yeah.
I think he probably will. Semih's looking in a decent position though, just kind of weighing it up. 109 supply to 100, not too much of a difference there. But he seems to be confident in moving out. He's got a good enough army behind him. However, I don't know if he's got enough gas-heavy units in there. The other side of things, we do see that Jumper has a good number of storms in his army. He's got only 2, however. So Semih could actually bust up here with those 2 Archons and 2 storms extra added in as well. It looks like he's positioned to do exactly that. He's got an observer up the ridge, so he knows whether he can move up or not. And I think he reckons he can, and I might just be inclined to agree with him. I'm not quite sure what his plan is here. We do have a DT going over to Semih's third, but all the while there is a cannon or 2 up there already. And laying down a speculative storm, managing to almost catch 1 High Templar, but not doing a huge amount of damage. And might catch a High Templar there. Somehow Jumper gets away with that, and he is left with a decent amount of storm, managing to get 1 off before that High Templar goes down. And Semih probably not going to be able to push up right now without fear of losing his entire army. And from there on, possibly the game. It looks like he might try to anyway, laying down a nice storm and a lot of Jumper stuff. And Semih is going to try and bust, but pulling back quite sensibly. That high ground advantage really does count for a lot in these games. It's really genuinely unpleasant to see someone try and push up around unless they have really pretty overwhelming advantage.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that... excuse me. I'm a little bit surprised by how careless Jumper was, allowing all these great storms to go off. So many of High Templars have gone down. He had a huge gas reservoir, now able to get his High Templars to the front, but they are now just all getting enough energy to cast storms, making this very dangerous for Semih. And I really think that some Archons for Jumper might be really beneficial here if he just made a couple. But no, going forward with his High Templars again, he does get some good storms off, but he's just going to sacrifice them. And Jumper's been throwing away High Templars very, very borderline recklessly this game. I mean, he is getting good storms, so it's not as if he's wasting them, but still, just losing so many gas. Losing so much gas in those.
Yeah, the Archons are really, really important. So you can see that Semih, he's got 1 Archon in his army already. I mean, Semih's been losing a fair few High Templar as well, but those Archons become incredibly important. We can see now Semih is pumping speeds out. You can see Jumper is going to be doing the same thing very, very soon. And of course, Archons are the key unit in melting that onslaught of speed zealots. Jumper trying to do a little bit of cute stuff, breaking off that Archon, but Semih is going to be wise to it. And Semih just continuing to take up this nice position. He's not going to be able to push up, but I don't know, he's looking in a pretty good place, and he can take the 4th now as well, while Jumper has no such luxury. And all the while laying down extra gateways to make sure that macro really keeps CE, and Jumper going for the double upgrades. Both players with +2 nearly coming in as well, so it's staying pretty even there. And it looks like at this point Semih decides he's going to be able to push up, coming in from both angles. I don't know if this is the best idea because those speed zealots are going to get pretty isolated at the back there, and Jumper doing a good job of actually positioning himself to take care of this, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Semih has pretty overwhelming forces, a lot of speed zealots coming in, nice storm going down as well, and Jumper is being forced to pull back. Let's see if he can actually micro this correctly. We have no storm left for him, and a good number of speed zealots coming in directly onto the dragoons mean that Semih, is probably going to be able to clean this up quite nicely. Does he have any more storm? No, he doesn't quite have any more storm. He does have 1 in that High Templar as well, but a couple of extra coming out from Jumper, and Semih getting forced into a little bit of a bottleneck here. Will it be enough? Will the dragoon count be enough? It looks like it just will, and he manages to take that big battle, and will probably be able to push into Jumper's natural now to close it out. Nice reinforcements and good macro coming in from him now too.
Semih going in for the final push, and I think that 1 engagement's going to be enough. Semih was working with a little bit of a supply lead all that time, but after that battle, the supply lead has just gotten out of hand. Almost 60 at this point, as Jumper's natural is under siege. As you said, Semih already working on a 4th base, where Jumper is about to lose 1 out of 3, and Jumper GG's. Semih advancing 2-0. That was such a good move by Semih, sending in those speed lots in the back that were probably going to die, but it distracted Jumper long enough to let his entire army get up that high ground that you were talking about. It's so hard to deal with, and Semih found a way. Brilliant move.
Yeah, very, very nice move. I was a bit skeptical at first. You see those attacks often go a little bit wrong, where the flank is actually too badly outnumbered, but it just allowed him to get pushing up that ramp and just get that really, really nice position. And Jumper from that point was kind of bottlenecked, unfortunately, so his army wasn't nearly as effective as it could have been.
Alright, the game is up, and we will be moving into Dyslexic versus Wallace.
It keeps telling me these are ladder games.
Oh.
It's very weird. But I'm not getting any stats from it, so I guess it's not. It's just a bit strange.
Seem like a pretty easy way to scam the system if replays counted towards ladder points.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if that happened on fishable servers. It's alright, no reason to panic. Not that anyone was. Okay, we're ready to go.
Indeed, game is starting. As we said, Wallace versus Dyslexic, and will Dyslexic stick with Protoss?
It looks like he indeed will not.
No, alright.
Have Zerg coming down here. So in the bottom left-hand corner, coming in as the orange Zerg, not Protoss this time, we have Dyslexic, and at the top of the map, making a bit of a split error, we have Wallace coming in as the grey Protoss. If anyone is unsure as to what's happening or what they're watching or when everything's happening, head on over to altitudeisl.net where you can see all the news, and of course try out the game from our lovely sponsors, which is of course Altitude the game. It is free to play and it's a lot of fun. I recommend you go and try it out, so big thanks to them. And also, if you have not yet done so, please go over to Reddit and upvote the Reddit thread for us. We need all the numbers we can get to help get the word of Brood War out there and get people watching, so please go and do that if you haven't already.
Alright, I'm still working on overlays because dyslexic is really hard to spell.
Are you spelling it the normal way, or are you spelling it like he's
I'm spelling it how he is spelling it.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah, the
Alright, there we go. Yeah. Alright, I guess Dyslexic's reverting back to his main setup. I guess he couldn't proxy Reavers as Zerg. Just wouldn't be as fun. So... switching back. Hopefully this is an indication that he's going to play a little bit more of a standard game, rather than trying to cheese out Wallace. Going up against Semih can be quite intimidating, so... Yeah,
I'd be very intimidated, just speaking from a personal point of view. I'd be terrified. I think I was going out, because I probably would. He's a damn good player.
Alright. So, PvZ on Aztec quickly becoming a classic matchup just at the number of times these two races play on this map. We've seen so many good games coming out. Aztec is a rather nice map for this matchup. Gives both races a lot of different options. And the only thing that I might say negative about it is that going Turtle Zerg can be a little bit too strong for Protoss to handle in some certain situations. So we'll have to see if Dyslexic chooses to abuse that, or if he goes for something more aggressive.
Yeah, it can be a very worrying situation, and I've encountered that a lot of times myself. Having a look at the wall-in from Wallace, I'm not sure how good it is. I think there's going to be a gap on the right hand side of the gateway and a gap in the middle. The best wall-in I've found so far is to lay the forge down a little bit further to the right, then lay down the gateway with one corner just above that little doodad and the other one just above the forge. So you get a pretty nice wide wall-in there at that point, allowing you to make cannons behind. This should be alright. This is by far and away not the worst we've seen. Oh, deciding to lay down the gateway there. He could have laid down the forge a little bit further to the right. And even if you'd laid down the pylon a bit further to the right, the whole wall could have shifted a little bit and you'd have had a much better defense.
Yeah, that gateway really just is not part of the wall.
No, it just kind of... No, not even slightly.
No, that cannon's going to be really exposed if Dyslexic does decide to build some more lings, and Dyslexic has gone for a fast third base, but not only is it not a fast third base at the empty natural, it's at a mineral only. So he's going to be only on 2 gas, indicating some very strong early hydralisk play from him.
Yeah, I think so, and even stronger if we don't see him lay down that natural gas, which he hasn't done yet, but he should be doing fairly soon if he's going to go for that kind of thing at all. And all the while we have, from the other side of things, standard stuff happening. We have a second cannon being put down for Wallace. I think that's a good idea rather. And a cybernetics core. This wall-in is the weirdest kind of botch job I've ever seen in my entire life. That cybernetics core is still not really doing anything. I mean, there's still easy pathways through for all the Zerglings, so I don't quite know what the thinking is with this. Maybe he's trying to hide it from the Overlord or something, but I think that our friend Dyslexic is going to be right on top of that. We still have no gas going down at the natural, but again, pretty normal time. We're just going to wait to see if that happens. Because yes, as we expect, we are probably going to see some hydralisk play given he's taking mineral only, but yeah, we've yet to see about that.
little bit later with the lair, but not really a matter of build. I think he was just a little bit late clicking it. And yeah, interesting. He's going to be going for that faster lair. As we said, he only off of 2 gas means that if he wants to go for the normal Zerg thing of Spire and Scourge and lots of upgrades with Evo chambers and whatnot, it's going to be very gas intensive. So he might need to take another base if he wants to do that. I'm still expecting him to go for something more aggressive. It's just a matter of what kind of aggression he is exactly going to go for.
Yeah, I'm still not quite sure. We have another hatchery being thrown down. We have the letter already complete. Don't see a spire quite yet, but there's still time.
Wow.
But
that's a very fast Overlord speed.
Yeah, that's very, very fast. So I guess, I don't even know what to guess. I'm not even going to guess. Guessing makes me look stupid. Wallace getting supply blocked at the absolute customary supply block level, because there's a little bit of a story behind this. Every Protoss has this stage in the game whereby their Nexus comes up and they've got another pylon coming in as well. So this suddenly gives them a whole lot of supply. And this can lead you to forget about your pylons just for that minute too long. And then as soon as you hit 34, you're like, oops, forgot to make pylons for ages and ages. So that's a very common place to get supply locked. Suddenly laying down a bunch of gateways as well. So this is probably going to be a speed lot oriented kind of thing. No Templar tech in as of yet.
Ooh.
Oh no, wait, we do have it. Sorry, go on.
Double Hydralisk Den? Really?
Who?
Huh. Yeah, before I saw that other Hydralisk Den, I was going to hazard a guess that actually Dyslexic's going to go for some kind of drop. Just getting the very fast speed, immediately starting drop after that. But he won't have the gas for it if he goes for simultaneous Hydralisk upgrades, which he just does start now.
Yeah.
Really, huh? Double Hydralisk upgrade. All right.
Yeah, it's got to be a bust of some kind. I mean, he's probably going to hope to hit at around about the same time as that Zealot speed comes in. He's not going to have a whole lot of Zealots, and it's not going to be of too much use to him, because if Zerg wants to go mass early Hydralisks, and you're going mass early Zealots, then pretty much the Zerg can make more stuff than you can, and that forces you into a very defensive position. You have to play a little bit more carefully, and it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. So we'll see if Wallace is good with this. He is now researching. Is he researching Storm? I can't imagine he's researched it already. That could land him in a little bit of trouble defensively speaking, because if you've only got speed Zealots and cannons, then yeah, you can struggle.
He is going to have a lot of speed lots, though, so Dyslexic can have a shot if he micros his Hydralisks very well, but going to be quite difficult for him. He's moving in with a lot of Hydralisks and a very large number of Overlords. Very, very fearful of those DTs, I guess.
Yeah.
But Wallace only now making his first one.
Yeah, they sound like you need a drink of water. Yeah. The breathing's freaking out, and we do have a bunch of Zealots pushing out, and they don't have speed yet, so they're going to be pretty ineffectual, losing 2, another one on pretty low health, the rest of them looking okay, but yet having to throw down a whole load of cannons. Not a favourable position at all right now for Wallace. He's just going to be forced into a defensive position, and Storm is only like halfway through, so it's going to be a little while before he can defend with that, so he's having to throw down so many cannons to try and actually keep himself safe. 1 DT is out now as well, but that's not going to last very long. Having to pull it straight back in. Will it survive? No, it's not going to survive. It needs to keep these High Templar safe as well. No, 1 High Templar wandering out, and possibly the second one as well. I don't know quite what he's thinking there. 1 High Templar gets picked off before Storm even finishes. Needs to be a lot more careful than that if he's going to make it into any stage of the late mid game here. Imagine to find that top left hand corner Overlord with this Scouting Corsair. That's quite audacious scouting. Very thorough. I like it.
1 out of 10 Hydralisks shooting at the Forge, but corrects that, and now they're all going to take them down. Because of Wallace's funky wall, it's going to cost him both the Gateway and the Forge. The cannons really don't protect either. I mean, there aren't many walls that can protect both, and bit of a mistake from Dyslexic there, losing 4 Hydralisks.
Yeah.
But, shuttle on the way for Wallace. Try to get a little bit of aggression going. We'll have to see what exactly kind of drop he's going to go for, but right now he has bigger issues as the Hydralisk moving in. They kind of dodge the storm by going so far forward, but there are a lot of cannons in the back there. I don't know if Dyslexic realized the cannons were quite that deep, so he's going to be forced to pull back, but he can still do a good amount of damage here. As there are a lot of Zealots there, they're not horribly covered by the cannons. A little bit of a micro mistake.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't morph those two High Templar into an Archon there, because it's a long time until they get energy to storm again. He would have been better off with one Archon safe and in the bank and making some more High Templar back out of his gateways as well. He's doing a little bit of running around with his Corsairs, so causing some slight panic for Wallace, for Dyslexic, sorry, Overlords, but realistically he's going to be okay. He's got 58 supply out of 85, so he can lose like half his Overlords and he's going to be okay anyway. And continuing to produce the Hydralisks, Dyslexic looks like he's got something he wants to do and he's going to keep doing it. He has a decent enough economy now. He's got kind of moderate saturation for Zerg at his natural and decent enough saturation at his third as well, so he can just continue to produce Hydralisks if he thinks he's in a good position, and just make sure the game just stays roughly as it is, and then he can steadily take more expansions, steadily tech up, and eventually win the game. I think that's what's in his head right now.
Wallace might find himself in a little bit of a dangerous position here as he's flying 2 High Templar out of his base to go for harass, but at the same time Lurkers have already morphed in with a huge amount of Hydralisks here. Without those extra 4 or so storms, Wallace might actually have some trouble holding off this attack if Dyslexic goes for it pretty soon here. Shuttle coming around the backside, gonna be able to probably gonna get a nice storm off on this mineral only. We'll have to see exactly what he's going to go for. Observers are out, which will help. And oh, he did get drop. Dyslexic is going to go for some drop play, and he's loading up the Hydralisk. Observers should see this. Meanwhile, Storm Drop goes down, killing off a good number of drones on the natural. But Wallace has to take the shuttle back. Hopefully, he still has some storms left. And now the Templars are dropping. Oh, snipes one of the observers. There's another observer coming in. But there are just so many zealots here, and the Hydralisks have nowhere to move. That drop did not work out well at all.
Yeah, that drop was a complete unmitigated disaster. Unloading the rest of that drop very, very sensibly. That storm drop was a good storm drop. It's worth noting though that he did, of course, storm both of his High Templar in the process. So the micro area there, or one Overlord threatening to lose its life for the good of the swarm in the main base. No, not doing so. So basically, this is a great time for Wallace to try and push out. He's got a decent number of units. He's got a decent number of storm, I think, in his army. For some reason, loading up 2 Dragoons, not sure I can really explain that. Oh, he's going to try and flesh out the cliff above his natural. Okay, good call. I think this is possibly the best time he's going to find to really push out. He did do some nice damage with that storm drop, because Zerg can keep producing a good number of Hydralisks even so. And we see he's got a little bit of money in the bank as well. But yeah, he needs to try and really break the contain sooner rather than later.
Pretty sure those drones are just rally. But there's actually not an observer there, so the Dragoons that were coming up to clear out the Lurkers really couldn't do anything. Yeah, that drop had a possibility to do some good damage there, but it just was not executed very well. There was an observer that could see what was going on. Wallace got his units back there in time. If the Overlords had gone a little bit in a sneakier way, he hadn't loaded up there, or he hadn't dropped there, it might have been able to do a lot of damage to Wallace. He might have been able to get the Lurkers in a good position before the army could get there. But still, Wallace not quite out of the woods yet, as there is a huge Zerg force out here. But it looks like Wallace is going to try to break it. Some good storms going down, softening up the Hydralisks. And now here comes the rest of the army to try to clear it out.
I think he needs more storm than this to be able to have any chance, and yes, he does indeed. Nod just pulls back. He threw away another High Templar again. He just moves it too far ahead of the army, and it was too easy to pick off. But once again, he's trying to push out. He's walking all these Dragoons on the top.
There's the observers.
That's not good at all. Laying down a nice storm though on top of the Hydralisk, and the Hydras dart in to try and get that observer snipes, and they are going to do exactly that.
No.
Oh, not quite managing to get that last one as it flies out of range, and it looks like we could in fact have Wallace breaking out of this here. Another storm goes down all over the Hydralisk. Brilliant storm. Dyslexic unable to run away from that one, finally getting the observer snipe, but too little too late. And with his economy in turmoil, Dyslexic is pushed back across the map, and this gives Wallace a good opportunity to get out, get down to third base, and get some pressure on the Zerg, which is something he hasn't been able to do this entire game long.
Breaking a contain, normally not the worst thing for Zerg to have to deal with, and the Dragoons are going to catch the Overlords loading up, and Wallace can't quite stop it. Dyslexic is just going to go for it anyway. With these injured Overlords, Wallace knows that they're coming in. I don't know what he was trying to get out of that. This is the second time Dyslexic going for drops that Wallace scouts out beforehand. Huh.
Yeah, it was really not going to go anywhere. Good choice to pull those Overlords back. He's going to get ugly, but continuing to skirt around the edges. He's going in again in just a second. I think he's going to be able to take out a few pylons, maybe take out the Robotech, maybe get a few probes to his name as well. This is This is relatively small. It's only 12 or so Hydras, so this should be relatively easy to clear out. But it does keep Wallace focused at home for a little bit longer. I think that's the important thing here. It keeps him from pushing across and doing any damage, because as we can see, there is next to nothing else on the map for Dyslexic right now, as he's just trying to beef his economy back up. Finally having a decent drone count as his third again.
He is not dealing with these Hydralisks. There are a couple of Dragoons coming down, but that's not even going to be enough, and a control group of Hydralisks can actually kill buildings very quickly. As the Robo-Bay has already gone down, some of the probes have been taken out, and the few units that have been sent to go and take it out, oh, Dyslexic, falling into the trap of all of his Hydralisks. Stop firing again! Oh, AI. Oh, AI is so bad. There we go. Now it's sufficient number of units coming back. Gonna be able to storm some of them, but still losing more units, more buildings, more probes than he really needed to there. Still managing to bug out till the very end.
Damn those Hydralisks. Not as bad as Goons, but bad nonetheless. We have third base now coming in for Wallace, but I think that's going to get easily cleaned up. We have a good number of Hydralisks, Zerglings, and a few Lurkers into the mix coming in. I think he's going to be served better if he pulls back, and he definitely needs to save as many of these probes as possible. Will that stack get caught by Lurker fire? It might just do, but it looks like he is going to be able to pull those back, but in the process of losing a good chunk of his army. He still has plenty left, but he shouldn't have really split it like that. He needed to be a little bit more decisive, clean out his drop more effectively, and get back out to defend this, but he has lost his third. He needs to try and lay down that mineral only ASAP. His mineral's slipping a little bit as well. He's gone up to 1.5k when he really needs to be keeping those as low as possible, getting some pressure. Even at this point, a few DTs dotted around the map, a few roving groups of 4 zealots or so, I think could really work wonders.
Yeah, Wallace starting to feel a little bit of the pressure here as his main is just about mined out. He really does need to establish another base soon, going for the very exposed center base that was not just a mineral only, but because he's unable to secure that, now going towards the safer mineral only. Should be able to hold that one a bit easier though, has quite the force, and they won't all have to try to funnel down a small ramp to get there in time to defend it. Meanwhile, Dyslexic going for another base of his own and going for a very odd location for Zerg. Zergs try to resist taking those middle expos as long as humanly possible, but or as long as Zergly possible, I guess. But no.
See what you did there.
Yeah, he's gonna go for that instead. As long as he can keep up a good number of Hydralisks, it'll be safe. But big Hydralisk forces like this can melt so fast just because of one slightly bad battle. He needs to be very careful.
Yeah, he needs to be incredibly careful because he's got a good force, he's got a good number of lookers, and I don't actually see an observer with the Protest army, so that's a little bit of an oversight. He needs to get one with his army absolutely as soon as possible. We have a bunch of lookers coming in now, and if he gets us around here, it could be really, really good. I don't know if he even realises that he hasn't got an observer. It looks like he realises this a little bit too late. Okay, one observer coming in from the back now, but yeah, he's going to have to pull back, but will he be able to get some nice storms off now as these Hydras move across the ridge? One nice storm goes off, and has he got any more? I think he's got more. Yes, he does, and this could be really, really hard.
Oh no!
Oh, so many Hydralisks dying. This is such bad times to be a Zerg player. That is a really, really brutal engagement for him. Still managing to clean up the bulk of the Protest army, but losing so much stuff. What a massive supply swing there. We see our poor Dyslexic on only 66 supply now after that battle. That is low, low, low. Whilst Wallace is sitting on 95, he just needs to macro well, and he might be able to get some decent pressure on the Zerg bases at long last.
A textbook example of what happens when you don't micro against Storm, losing huge amounts of his army. And now this base is looking very, very vulnerable, as there's only a handful of Hydralisks to defend. Wallace might not have enough now, but as soon as he gets the next couple rounds of macro to reinforce that army, he's going to be in a good position to do some damage.
Yeah, that was just such brutal storm. I can't even get over how horrible that was. Yeah, Dyslexic making a horrible micro error, just getting himself stuck on those bridges, and it was only a simple matter for Wallace to lay down a whole bunch of storm all over that. And Dyslexic trying to push out again, but I don't know that his army is good enough. It probably is going to be good enough, and he is going to be able to force the Protoss back. It's a good thing Wallace actually managed to do that, because this has managed to allow him to secure a third base properly and secure a fourth as well. He's probably going to have a big enough army to see off this Zerg force, though. He needs to keep his Corsairs safe. Didn't want to get those sniped out. He needs to pull back with his Dragoons, though, otherwise he's going to run into a whole lot of trouble, i.e. having no Dragoons left. and he pulls back to try and defend his fourth, which is probably a pretty good idea. As long as he can get and defend his third, he might find himself a little bit split here, and dyslexic making a little bit of a mistake here trying to push up this ramp. I don't think he should be doing that at all. There's a good number of photon cannons waiting for him here, backed up with his dragoons. That is really not happening, and back across the map he goes. A little bit of a close shave there for Wallace, possibly getting caught between his fourth and his third, and being unable to defend either.
Hive is done, Crack is done for Dyslexic, but I do not see the Defiler mount. And I think that some swarms could cause some problems for Wallace here, just looking at the large number of cannons, large number of dragoons that he's using at this point. Yeah, it's actually lost a good number of the Templars that he's had. I only see a couple with the army, one back at home.
He needs those gas units coming into the next stage of the game with the Defiler mount already halfway done.
Yeah, using a lot of his gas right now on lurkers. 7 of them are going to morph in. There is one observer, but with that many lurkers, it's still going to be hard to break through. Will they finish in time? They still need just a little bit more, and Wallace is in fact going to back off as they hatch. So, nice storm going down, hitting a lot of those units, softening up those lurkers, going to make it easier to engage them with more traditional units.
Yeah, and Dyslexic is on the edge right now. Those lurkers not in a good position, his whole army not in a good position. Not that it's very big anyway, he really doesn't have too much. So if Wallace can micro this effectively and keep his macro up, then he could be looking at a victory, as long as Dyslexic isn't able to stabilize too much, because that's really not very many lurkers, and some good storms will see them clear very, very, very quickly.
Yeah. At this point, Dyslexic needs to find some way, any way to stall. Stall until he can get out a good number of Defilers, or any Defilers for that matter. Stall until he can get his 5th base and maybe even his 6th base online. Right now the Protoss is only mining off of 2 bases as they set up a 5th base here. If he can stall, he might be able to work his way back in. He's actually not very far behind in supply. But he just hasn't incorporated those nice units in yet. He needs to wait until he can. And here comes the engagement. The Lurkers are actually going to get a really nice position. Wallace couldn't quite punish that well. And Lurker's going to do a lot of damage here. Wallace forced to back off and catching a couple of Templars on the retreat, but still some good storms going down. Some really good storms going down. Killing off a lot more of these units. And so many of these Hydralisks are already injured from storms at some point in all of these series of engagements. But Wallace is forced back, and that's exactly what Dyslexic needs right now. If he can maintain this, he can get back into this game.
No, that's perfect for Dyslexic. And Wallace is really letting him back into this game entirely. We can see that Wallace hasn't been good with scouting. He hasn't scouted bottom left at all. He hasn't scouted anywhere along the bottom bases. He would have been easily to prevent that bottom right-hand expansion from going up, but it is already up. A whole load of probes were just transferred over there now as well. So that leaves Dyslexic in a pretty good position, economically speaking. Wallace will be able to just get in and defend his 4th base here, but all the while his 3rd is running the risk of being sacked. We can see it in, some big lurker shots going off. Will he be able to get the probes? Oh no, the lurker poking out at the crucial moment and doesn't quite get those huge shots he wanted. But yeah, Wallace really needs to get his scouting in order. That bottom right hand base would be so easy to get rid of, and he's had so many opportunities to do so this entire game, and I just feel he's letting it slip by just being a little bit sloppy in those areas.
With a series of pretty good engagements, I don't even think Dyslexic is at the I need to stall anymore. He's actually on pretty even footing. He's still he's still ever so slightly behind in supply, but a 3 supply deficit is absolutely nothing. And he has 5 bases. They seem pretty secure, as Wallace, with a very small army, only 100 supply at this point in the game. And Protoss having a very small army at this point in the game is a lot worse than Zerg having a small army at this point in the game. Because Zerg can be able to make it very quick. Defilers have seen the field. We saw, there we go. And Defilers are out. This is going to make battles so much more difficult for Wallace if Dyslexic can even get half-decent swarms off. Not to mention defending his bases are going to become exponentially harder. He needs more Templar, he needs more Reavers to try to defend. He's actually getting some Reavers now.
Yeah, Reavers is going to be important if he's going to be cost effective, and that's what he needs to be now. He needs to be 100% cost effective because he hasn't got a big army, and he needs to be able to take out so many Zerg units with relatively little means. We have another little bit of a drop being loaded up for Dyslexic, so this I think it's more of a harassment drop than anything else. And finally, Wallace pushing down to the bottom right hand side, but I think it's a little bit too late, and he's running the risk of getting horribly sandwiched by a big Zerg army. But still, I don't know if he's even going to go all the way down to the bottom right hand base. It looks like he's going to do so, but the Zerg army's coming in from behind. It looks like he could get really badly sandwiched. He is aware of the danger though, pulling back, but he's getting all spread out. He might just get caught before he gets to the bridges. It looks like he is going to kind of make it back in safety rather, but losing a couple of High Templar in the process, and one or two slightly less than ideal storms, and that bottom right hand base is going to survive for the time being.
Yep. Zerg did not send in the majority of the army, did not send in the Defilers for whatever reason, but now here come the Defilers. They are filled with energy. Finally, we're getting some swarms down. That's going to force the Protoss to turn right back around, and as you said, most importantly, keeping that 5th base alive, keeping the opportunity for a 6th base whenever Dyslexic wants it alive. And here comes a little bit of harass, dropping some speed lots in on the drone line. And this is actually an indication of how this game is not going in Wallace's favor. He has to use a speed lot drop to manage to attack this very, very vulnerable center expansion. That's not the position he wants to be in at this point in the game.
No, not at all. I kind of like the drop idea, it's a good idea, but he needed to be doing so much of that stuff so much earlier to really keep the Zerg economy down, because as we can see, the Zerg's getting a little bit out of control. I mean, he's already mined out 3 of his 5 bases, so that's kind of good for a Protoss player here, managing to clear out the Zerg before they manage to take out that next. But yeah, the Zerg's economy is still growing. He can still take that extra main base whenever he wants to, which he'll probably do fairly soon. And we can see the Zerg nearly even with Protoss on supply as well. So if this battle goes well for Dyslexic, then Wallace is going to have a lot of difficulty. But it looks like he's laying down some nice storm. He lays down another one to be able to get rid of those 2 lurkers, both in one. Doing exactly that. Will the Defiler go down as well? Yes. One Defiler does go down, so that's pretty important, especially since it was ready to cast more swarms, plays, whatever. Oh, Blade going off on a lot of the Protoss units, so they're looking pretty incredibly damaged right now. But once again, the Zerg army is cleared up. He's failing to do anything really decisive here, sending his army in little bits and bobs, trying to keep the pressure up, but at the same time, never really dealing any of those crucial finishing blows to the Protoss.
Yep, and looks like Zerg doesn't quite have enough. He's going to continue to stream in units, and at any point, Dyslexic's going to back off as he realizes at least I think he's going to back off. He doesn't quite have enough to continue to contend this, but he did set up this 5th expansion. He really needed to get that up, as his mineral only already mined out, and that would leave him only with 1, albeit 1 very defended base. There are 3 Reavers here.
Yeah, that's a super defense. I think he's probably better off taking those and bringing them into his main army, actually. Give him a little bit more traction. And he could be running his Reavers right into staging it, but there are only links there. He better take them right now so he can get the space properly defended. There is 1 still remaining, so that's going to be able to do some decent work in taking care of as many of these lings as possible. Will he be able to get the Defiler? He does manage to get the Defiler, but it's too late. There's already a swarm down on his next. He needs to drop those Reavers and try and get rid of these Zerglings as much as possible. We have a nice attack coming into that exposed base as well. Will he be able to take it out? No, doesn't quite have the numbers there, and Wallace very sensibly decided to pull back and get that, but in the meanwhile, that 5th base rather I should say, is going to go down, whilst that exposed base is probably going to survive. A couple of Archons making nice light work of the reinforcements Zerglings come in, and it looks like Wallace is going to be able to stabilise this with the loss of 1 base, which he should be throwing down pretty quickly now. If he'd have lost that other Nexus, then that would have been pretty poor.
Yeah, considering how few lings, Dyslexic sent at that 5th base, even that one was successful. Certainly successful taking out the other Nexus. And now Wallace only mining off of 1 base, but it's 1 base that only has a couple probes there, and even those couple probes are dying. This Nexus might be taken out, completely stopping Wallace from mining, and he does not have a bank. Only a couple hundred. And it looks like he's long distance mining with his probes now, as he's trying to get enough money. He does not have enough money for a Nexus. Oh, he has to long distance mine to this Nexus of the mineral only to get 400. Oh, wow.
No. How has he let this happen? He was in such a nice position. When he saw those Zerglings coming into that base, he should have just taken them. He should have taken the Reavers straight back and defended with all his might, because he needed that cash. And he was still in the game. He wasn't out. If he'd have done some nice drop action on the bottom right hand base, he would have really stood a good shot. But yeah, as it is, he's looking in really pretty serious trouble right now. Surprisingly, because he's been in decent positions throughout this game.
Yeah, there's nothing left he can do at this point. There's nothing left he can do other than send absolutely everything he has to try to protect this base. It is a pretty hard base to attack if you have that many DTs and Zealots to ignore the swarm, but still, it's an insanely uphill battle at this point, and I think with that beautiful double-pronged attack that Dyslexic has,
Drone stack. Drone stack.
Oh.
Drone stack's gonna get taken out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Drone stack. It's interesting that he has this shuttle, he has DTs, but yet he's not, and he also has Corsairs, but he's not doing any harassing to that main base for the Zerg, which is slightly unconventional. I think he'd do well to do something like that, but he's been pretty lax on that kind of thing all game, having to pull back now to make sure this base stays defending, because he's finally got a Nexus coming up, a lot of Lings coming in, and he's got no Archons, his Reavers are as positioned, still with a slow shuttle as well, so yeah, it's going to be hard for him to deal with. There's another Zerg force comes in. It's small, and he could lose a high Templar here, but just managing to kind of keep it alive somehow, doing some nice storming action as well.
Yeah, the Lex is still warping in. He's been long distance mining this entire time as his only source of income, and finally Dyslexic's been able to break through and really start to explode that supply lead up to a 40 supply lead. Now taking another base up here, and he can take every free expansion on the map, and there's going to be nothing Wallace can do to punish it.
No, it's also funny that whilst he does have an Nexus up, Wallace still has hardly any probes. He's barely even got one base worth of saturation, so that base isn't going to be working at full efficiency. It seems like we might have lost a Reaver. No, we've still got 2 Reavers in that shuttle. Excuse me, I was a little confused for a second there. But yeah, Dyslexic just needs to keep the pressure up right now, and eventually he will be able to break into that base. I think Wallace is going to have a very, very hard time holding on to that. Oh, nice storm though.
Ooh, play going down on a lot of those Zealots, and he needs to... Those Zealots are pretty much all he has left beyond his very expensive units. But the expensive units can't do everything alone. They need something to tank damage for them. And now, oh, it's just Reavers and DTs. And Reavers and DTs can't kill everything. Another play going down. Ugh.
Doing a nice job though, using the DTs whilst the Overlords are away.
Yeah.
I'm curious he hasn't actually got his Corsairs flying around anywhere near. I'm not quite sure what's happened to them. Are they even still alive?
No, they're by the Reavers.
They're by the Reavers. Okay,
yeah,
so he does have the Corsairs still active. So that's okay, but his entire army pretty much consists of 3 observers and a DT right now. So not the scariest of stuff. He's got those 2 Reavers going in. He might be able to do some decent damage to the drone line here, but there's not too many drones there, and that's not exactly an instrumental base anymore. Either way, we still have this bottom right hand corner economy absolutely booming, and the Zerg now is just spreading all over the map. We can see another base coming up at the top as well, and it looks like it's probably going to be easy enough to close this one out for Dyslexic, and he's got to try and devise a cunning way of getting past Protoss to get rid of this final mining base. But honestly, right now he can just dash straight in. There's nothing stopping him from doing so.
Worth pointing out that Dyslexic has completed his first Spire in the game at the half-hour mark. Man, all those Zergs have been doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Who the hell needs a Spire?
Yeah, imagine if Wallace had been better with his shuttle harassment. That kind of highlights what I was saying all game. If he'd have done better with his shuttle harass, this could have been so different, because he's had the chance all game. No Scourge out means that you can run wild with your shuttles, and he just hasn't used that to its full advantage at all.
There is a scary group of Archons coming up from the top, but even 4 Archons might not be enough to deal with this many Lings. And I think that this might be the attack that finally breaks this completely. There are no cannons here, and I don't think he has time to rush everything down. No, this will certainly go down, as he didn't have money to build any more cannons. He had just barely been able to restore mining, and this base will certainly go down. Once again, cutting him off from money, and Wallace, I don't know what else Wallace can do at this point. He's lost all of his probes. He doesn't have a huge bank, so there is no more mining he can do in this game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be all over for Wallace. He's got a tiny little skeleton crew of an army, 44 supply versus 112. It's really a bit of a no-brainer. And Dyslexic now just taking out cannons for fun. And this could have looked so different. At many stages of the game, it was going backwards and forwards, and Wallace had the opportunity to seize the initiative, and he just didn't. He didn't look like he was that fresh with his ideas for the PvZ matchup. And he's really, really suffered. I mean, the Zerg just being able to run rings around him. These bottom right-hand expansions, which have been critical throughout the later stage of this game, were so avoidable. He could have easily prevented those from going up.
Yep. As you said, 44 supply, and that 44 supply is only going to continue to decrease as he cannot make any more units. It's all he has left. I don't know how much he expects to get done. I mean, Dark Templars, High Templars, Archons can do damage, but realistically, Zergs just can make stuff, and you cannot make stuff. Therefore, you lose.
Yeah. And the Zerg looks rich even if you just look at that fantastic little 3 almost mined out patches at the exposed base, and then mind if you look at the bottom right hand corner. So not quite sure why Wallace is saying it. I guess he really doesn't want to be going out to the tournament, but it looks like it is going to be happening for him. Unfortunately, we could see another nice storm going down on these Hydras, so that's a good job from him. But it's not going to be able to do too much. Another storm going down, catching a few of his Archons in the process, and the Zerg just needs to surround this and mop it up. A good number of forces going to be coming in from the back as well. A good number of Hydralisks, 1 or 2 Lurkers too, going to be able to clear up the last of these Archons, and then it will be only time for Wallace to respectfully GG out of the game.
I think Wallace just trying to rack up as many kills as possible, get the highest end score he can. He might actually beat Dyslexic in the end score, but there it is. GG. And Wallace has been eliminated. Dyslexic will go on to play Jumper.
Yeah, which should be cool. So yeah, I'm curious to see what races we see coming out now for Dyslexic. I mean, you already showed us, you don't know what to expect. Having to log back into Fish. They shut the server down.
Me as well.
Oh no, that replay counted as a loss. No, do you have a win from that?
I don't know how to check my stats. How to check stats?
It's right. Oh, just type /stats.
I am 0-1-5.
Oh well, okay. Yeah, let's go into the next game. That's a little bit odd, but yeah, that counted. And oh dear.
Awesome.
Never mind. What a stats. Who needs them?
Alright. So, final match. Jumper versus Dyslexic. I'm happy I don't have to retype Dyslexic's name.
Yeah, I bet.
Alright.
Okay, so going into the final match of the group, I urge everybody to head on over to the Reddit thread, upvote that like crazy, because that is going to get us plenty more views and get plenty of people looking at the Brood War awesomeness. All the while, if you want to see what's going on, head on over to altitudeisl.net, where you can see all the information on the group stages, everything that's coming up, and head on over to our sponsors website as well, directly from there. So, spawning in on the left-hand side, we have ISL 3 Dyslexic as Zerg once again seeming to definitely prefer the ZVP matchup. And on the right-hand side, we have ISL 3 Jumper coming in as the Red Protoss. Now, the map is going to be Heartbreak Ridge. So this kind of generally is thought to favour Zerg a little bit because of this kind of back mining out kind of thing. What do you reckon, Michael Beast?
Also, the base is unwallable, if you were unaware of that. Yeah, as you said, those back minerals, such a threat, constantly hanging over the Protoss's head all game long. At any point, the Zerg can come back there. In the very beginning, at the very beginning with Lings, at some point later with Hydralisk, sneak Lurkers back, even somewhere towards a later point in the game, where most of it's mined down and you're just trying to sneak back there. It's such a thorn in their side. And you know what? Dyslexic cheesed on a map that is as boring as possible on Circuit Breakers. This map attracts more cheese than any other one. I would not be surprised to see some kind of Zerg cheese there. And I couldn't even begin to count the number of the different types of Zerg cheese on this map.
Yeah. So curious to see what they're going to do. Jumper clearly has his stuff figured out well on this map. You can see that pylon positioning. Demonstrating that well, because that pylon is of course going to be absolutely snug to the nexus there. You make one mistake and suddenly your game is over, but Jumper knowing exactly what he's doing right here. And the probe is heading on over to see the Zerg stuff, nothing out of the ordinary, not even a drone going around to mine the back minerals, and you'll see that he'll get a good handle on the drone count as soon as possible, I think.
Yep. Dyslexic did go for the overpool, so we'll have an opportunity to get some early Lings out here. And we'll see if Jumper can wall properly. He's gonna put his forge here, which if he puts gateway on top, it's still an opening at the top and the bottom. The gateway's not that big to extend all the way to the top cliff.
Yeah. A little bit strange. It might extend I think it will extend. No, it'll extend to the gas. Yeah, you're right. Which will kind of do the trick. And Jumper actually letting the hatchery go down. A little bit of a micro mistake there, but it would have gone down in a second anyway because we have the lings well on the way out now. So yeah, I'm curious to see how this walling works. I think it should be all right. I mean, there's quite a big gap though underneath that forge.
Yeah, indeed it is, and not to mention that it's a big gap, but it's also important to note that it's a big gap on the close side. If it was a big gap on the other side, then the lings need to run around the cannons, and just going for a straight run by typically won't work. But Jumper, already preparing for this, putting his cannon very far back, and that's a cannon only to defend against a ling run by. There's really no other purpose to that cannon, because it won't help out. It will be very ineffective against the hydralisks. But he needs to put it there just to... Oh. What?
What? No, you can.
Lie!
Jumper, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's not allowed. You can't claim that your build is bad when in fact it wasn't. That is beyond mind games. That goes a step further. That's why talking is banned in tournaments.
I forget who's the C rank player and who's the A rank player, because that definitely seemed like a C rank move there.
But that kind of implies that the Nexus is going to be absolutely screwed, whereas Jumper can easily just lay it down back there, whereas it made out like it was a really big deal. I think it's a bit weird that Jumper said that. I mean, I don't know.
Trying to psych out dyslexic about inability to place down your Nexus. Anyway,
yeah.
Anyway, he's gonna put the gateway where you said, and I didn't think that he'd actually be able to extend it so that it'd still be tight between the gateway and the forge, but I was wrong, and that actually does look like a tight wall. It won't be tight once he builds the assimilator, but it will be tight until then. And at that point, the game really doesn't need to be tight up there because it'll be too late for Zergling run-bys around that direction.
Yeah, especially with Zealous out. But yeah, that whole thing is completely throwing me off. Weird. We have another probe going out to die to the Zerg swarm as it tries to get the scouting information in. And we do already have the third base up for the Zerg. Jumper will not know this. He'll assume as much, I would imagine. It is completely standard stuff so far, but he hasn't quite been able to get another scout out yet. Dyslexic does see that next probe heading out as well with his overlord positioned over the natural, so he should be able to shut that down. One Zergling is going to get that scouted out, and he'll be able to get rid of that in pretty short order. All the while we have a lair coming up for our brown Zerg. And at the other side of things, Jumper proceeding along completely standard tech routes as well. He's got the Stargate going down, he's got the Citadel going down, no +1 for his Corsairs. Still to see any divergence from these two players.
Yep. And starting the simultaneous Stargate and Citadel rather than getting +1 initially. So the +1's gonna be a little bit delayed. Jumper doing cute tricks with the probe, glitching it through the mineral field, so he will be able to evade that Zergling for a little while longer. Gets a little. Yeah. He's gonna get a scout off, which is nice.
Yeah, that's a good little bit of a move. I mean, that's unexpected. Good thinking from Jumper to be able to get that in. And he will see the spy, so he'll know that he doesn't have to make any extra cannons or any fun in games like that. Just running around with that probe, getting as much information as he can. Should be able to keep that alive for a little while yet. Another hatchery going down at the natural for Dyslexic as well. It doesn't look like we're going to be seeing a big Hydra game again, but slightly later than before, of course, with that spire in the middle.
Yep, would not be surprised to see the 5th hatchery thrown down any time now at the, at the 3rd base, but, ooh, double Hydralisk Den yet again? Really? Wow. Really?
Well, if it works once, I mean, it'll work better if you remember some micro, of course.
Yeah, that's... And
I'm not sure about this, because we already saw it against Wallace. And no disrespect to Wallace, but I think Jumper is an even higher level player than he. So after such a tenuous game against Wallace, I'd have thought he'd be doing something a little bit different. Well, he's doing something a little bit different, but not anything too much different. I'm curious to see exactly what Jumper's going to do about this. I would expect a fairly standard play coming out of him, and with good micro, he might be able to shut him down.
Yeah, I'm really surprised we're going to see double Hydralisk Den again. That's a thing. By getting the Spire, he's delaying the 5th hatchery, I'm trying to draw parallels, exactly what's going to be different between his build last game and his build this game, because he did again go for the very, very fast Overlord speed. So at this point, really the only difference is delaying the 5th hatchery to get a Spire, which he hasn't been using yet, as I don't see any Scourge on the way. Oh, he built a couple of Scourge that chased out the Corsair. But,
did he? Okay,
but here comes Jumper's first attack, and it's mostly DTs with a couple of escorts around them, but fast Overlord speed is going to shut that down brutally.
Well, you say that, but DTs are actually really, really strong. So this could actually make its way well against the Hydra's force. The Zerglings in the mix should make things a little bit easier for Dyslexic. Those DTs are getting a little bit straight off the path, but no Overlord in that force quite yet, and that does mean DTs are able to get a good number of Zergling kills before anything happens. But yeah, this force probably not going to be able to do too much damage. Should probably get it pulling back. Because, yeah, that's just going to get picked off. He does run away with 1 DT. He's going to lose his Zealots and his Dragoon. Not too much of a big loss there. Going around the back of the Zerg force, he might be able to get in the natural here. Very, very nice bit of play from Jumper. Very nice evading the Overlords. And let's see if Dyslexic can spot this. I think he may well do, since he's got a bunch of stuff coming in at the natural in just a second. But, the drones start going down. He does manage to spot it, but it's a little bit too late. All his drones going down, and he doesn't run away very well at all. Finally, some more Hydras coming out, but he's already run away his Overlord, and I don't see another one anywhere else. Okay, there is one in the main. Alright, that's cool. And meanwhile, Jumper defending it back at his main. He would not want to lose this game at this point when he's in actually a pretty decent position, blocking his way all the way in just as much as he possibly can to make sure he's as safe as he can be.
Storm is going to finish up as it finishes up now. 3 High Templar with a Storm of Peace. And here come the Hydralisks. Dyslexic needs to micro against these Storms, and it's not what we've seen from him so far. Oh, taking a lot of damage with that first Storm. Only losing 2, but just look at the damage on all the other ones. That's tough. This does not look like it's going to be possible to break through. There's just too much stuff here from Jumper. Jumper very, very well defended against this kind of attack.
Yeah, very, very well defended. I mean, he knows that he's in a good position now, so all he needs to do is survive for a little bit, and then he can push out. Oh, another big storm going down. Dyslexic once again, not moving his Hydras quite quick enough, doing a decent enough job though, so he only loses a couple. Quite a few of them on low health though. Another nice storm going down from Jumper, whose macro is slipping a bit. He should probably get a few more gateways up right away, because that's really not going to be enough now that his bases are quite well saturated.
Stopping +1 is going to be a little bit of a victory here for Dyslexic. It does in fact go down. So that's nice, but he has lost a lot of Hydralisks here, and taking out that forge really does not help him gain any ground. And actually, Jumper's making a big enough army that if Dyslexic's not careful, he might have to defend against a pretty strong attack here. Jumper getting up to 5 gateways and double forging behind that. He's going to have nice upgrades, but stopping that +1 is such an important upgrade for Protoss, and by delaying it by another, 3 minutes? Possibly, for the time that takes a forge to finish and then the upgrade.
Yeah, roughly 3 minutes or so.
It's definitely going to help out Dyslexic's cause here. He just needs to continue to try to not take a lot of damage from storms, as his Templar is moving out.
Not doing a bad job there, managing to start them around fairly quickly. I'm kind of expecting him to lose a lot of Hydras Storm at any minute. Jumper does have a few more gateways coming in now, so he should be able to do something decent against this. We still see Dyslexic pretty low in terms of drone count. He's just had a few more as natural, but not looking too great. So this is, of course, a position that Jumper can break out from. But we can see why Dyslexic would choose this strategy for this match, because this is really working out quite well for him. He's got a decent enough contain, and he just puts Protoss a little bit on the back foot with his opening build order. So I think this is actually a pretty good call from him, and I can see why he's selected for this in both games. Oh, we can see the Scourge taking out this Corsair. If that Corsair stops for a second, it's going to get demolished, and the chase continues. Not too critical though.
This is the point in the game where I really like to see Dyslexic mine out the back minerals. It's not something that's vital. It might not even be something that he uses, but just mining that out is going to give him options later on, and it's really options that he needs at this point. If Jumper knows exactly what Dyslexic is going to do, he's going to be able to counter it perfectly, but just something as small as that could really throw a wrench in Jumper's perfect defense.
Yeah, it could very, very much throw a wrench in his perfect defense, because well, he's got to be pretty committed at this point. When he's pushing out, he needs to be pushing out. He wants no distractions whatsoever. And it looks like he's going to try and do that now. He still doesn't have zealot speed though. He needs to get zealot speed up right away. I'm not quite sure how far the upgrade is along. Can't find the Citadel, so he still hasn't got zealot speed, but he's pushing out nice storms, getting rid of a lot of Hydralisk, and once again we see the same thing happening for Dyslexic, and this is actually eerily similar to the outcome of the last battle, right down to having a couple of Archons walking in the middle of it all, and it does look like Jumper getting that critical timing just before the Lurkers came out, and this is going to be pretty much Lurker shooting time for the Dragoons.
Yep. The Lurker's not going to be able to do too much. The Dragoons managed to take out that last Lurker. That would delay Jumper a little bit here. But now Jumper's going to be on the move. He kept most of his High Templars alive. I think he kept 6 out of the 7 alive, -2 from that Archon that died. But now they're moving down, and the Dyslexic's new base here is going to be very, very vulnerable, as Jumper already having Dragoons in position to attack.
And Jumper's going to be able to make his way up to this new base. The DT doing a little bit of messing around, might be able to get into that base and take a few drones out. But in the meantime, Jumper doing a nice little bit of a push motion to get that Archon taken out. Going to lay down a nice stall. Dyslexic, please move your Hydralisk. He's losing so much stuff. If I was a Zerg player, this would definitely be hurting me. Lay down another storm as well. Dyslexic losing a lot of units, but Jumper's force just a little bit too small. Not quite sure why he was feeling happy to push out with such a tiny little force of units. He should probably have been pulling back and trying to take a third base of his own, because if he doesn't get a third base soon, then his economy is going to be in all kinds of interesting trouble, because he's pumping out those gateways at the moment, but that's going to be a limited time only thing. You see his mate is not too far from mined out at the moment.
Yeah, that's certainly going to put a hamper on him. With that many gateways, Jumper will not be able to make out of all of them. He didn't actually do much damage here. He forced the drones to retreat, but they just came right back. And Dyslexic, if he can hold on a little bit longer, is actually going to be in not bad of a position. And is Jumper going to try to take the middle expo?
He is. He is. That's exactly what's going to happen. Jumper, why so crazy? Can he even hold that? His army's still really, really small. I don't know if he can hold this. He's laying it down, so he's going to be going for that. That's really quite interesting. Going to have those Scourge taken out. That's going to be a little bit unfortunate for Dyslexic. So Jumper's got a decent number of units out. He's got a lot of Dragoons, so that means he's going to be a little bit more push orientated at this point. And if he can catch those Hydralisks as they move up the ridge, he's going to have a very nice position. I'm surprised that he still doesn't have the Zealot speed that would be really, really pretty useful to him right now. But those Dragoons are doing a very nice job, and it looks like he's going to be easily able to take out the whole of this army for Dyslexic. And that middle base not looking so stupid anymore. That's going to give him one hell of a lot of minerals if that comes up, and a good amount of gas to boot. And yeah, that's a really, really very strange move, but I guess he's pretty confident in his army that he can hold this. I'm trying to find his Citadel so I can see if he's getting Zealot speed. He is finally getting it, and it is nearly done. But his Dragoons have basically been doing the job at holding those Hydralisks off from range as it is. He hasn't really needed it.
Yeah, I wonder if that's actually a tactical decision from Jumper, or more of a I feel like taking a center expansion kind of decision, just for the hell of it. It worries me. I don't feel he's quite ahead enough to justify that, but taking out this fourth base is going to certainly put him close to that, as these sunken colonies are all not going to finish in time, not a single sunken shot getting off, and this base is going to go down very quickly, even without Storm. There's only one High Templar here, didn't need to use one.
Yeah. As far as I can see, Jumper is in a very, very safe position taking that middle base. His army is incredibly superior. He's going to have such a hard time producing anything that's going to be able to compete with that. His drone count is finally halfway decent at all his bases, but losing this fourth is a real blow to him. His supply looking a little bit dodgy at 72 versus Jumper's 147. So I think Jumper is not misplaced in his confidence, and he's now able to just whack right across the map and take out all the bases as he goes.
Couple observers that this army means that the Lurkers morphing in behind are not quite as big of a threat, but if they get into a good position, they can actually do a lot of damage, considering how few Templar are there. Yeah, Jumper needs to make a pretty big mistake in this game to allow Dyslexic back in, but Dyslexic could get a good attack off here, as all these Lurkers are going to burrow into a pack of Zealots, so these Zealots are going to take a lot of damage, but Storm's going down, killing off a lot of the Zerglings.
Yeah, that positioning was actually pretty good for Jumper, because the Lurkers were all right in the Zealots, so they were all firing in different directions, not doing anything really pretty coherent. And now Jumper has enough Dragoons to be taking out the Lings pretty much as they pop, doing some damage to the Overlords as well, but Dyslexic has nowhere near the supply count to fill his limit. And this is going to be it for Dyslexic, and Jumper is going to be pushing all the way through, and we are going to see this group happening kind of as expected. It is going to be Jumper and Semih going through to face various opponents in the next stage.
Yeah, I thought that position was good at first, but he just waited a little bit too long to burrow those lurkers, and as you said, the Zealot's able to close, and is going to very nicely wrap this game up for Jumper. Dyslexic GG's, Jumper and Semih, the two heavy favorites, will be advancing onto ISL.
Yeah, good job to those guys. And unlucky to those people who crash out of the tournament, but they must be losers in order for there to be winners. And we've seen some decent games, but that game, just Jumper looking very, very superior and very, very confident in his own ability to take it.
So, as you can see, the group coming up, those are some very big names. Gotunk, Trutacz, Trix, and Ronin. Going to be a great group. Stick around, just a quick 60-second commercial, and we will be right back. And we are back. As I said, we're moving right into Group 13. Gotunk, Trutacz, Trix, and Ronin. Should be some very good games in this. I'm excited.
Yeah. No, this is going to be some really, really good stuff. Got a lot of big names going on here. Whereas the last group was maybe seen as a little bit one-sided. We saw some good games nonetheless, but this is going to be absolutely no holds barred. We're going to see some great stuff.
Alright, game has been hosted.
I'm on my way.
Trix and Gotunk. Alright. Here we go.
Alright.
Alright, let's start this.
Okay, so thus begins the non-stop action all the way through this group to the very end of the cast. In the top left-hand corner, spawning in as the yellow Protoss, we have ISL 3 Gotunk. And in the bottom right-hand corner, spawning in as the blue Protoss, we have ISL 3 Trix. The map is going to be Circuit Breaker, and once again, probably going to be seeing some fairly defensive stuff in terms of PvP on this map, especially given their cross positions. This doesn't allow for a huge amount of aggressive play, although it can still be done. But it's likely to be a little bit more of a harassment style thing going into the mid game. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Hacker Beast, what do you reckon?
Yep. As you said, this is a pretty easy map to macro up. The only hard thing about it is that a third base can be slightly on the more difficult side, just because the mineral only is, well, a mineral only. It's not worth as much, but also you have to there's a big ramp pointing downhill towards it. The other bases are a little bit farther away too. So it's not quite as friendly as a macro map as, say, Jade, but cross positions, as long as one of them doesn't cheese, we certainly should be in store for a good macro type game.
Yeah, we definitely should. And otherwise, it looks like we're not heading for anything super early game weirdness, which absolutely to be expected on this map. 4-player maps make it very difficult to be able to proxy / hide anything. Not that we haven't seen it already. We saw a little bit of interesting proxy robo play in our very first game here that didn't quite pan out, and we can see just how wrong interesting style plays can go. Scouting Interesting to see actually that gotunk actually scouting pretty late, waiting until at least after his gas. It looks like he's going to head out with the probe now, but that is significantly later than you'd usually expect. As we can see, the probe of Trix heading on into the main base just as the yellow probe is leaving its own. So a little bit of a weird decision there from gotunk.
Well, it won't come back to bite him, as Trix is not doing anything particularly weird, and actually gotunk gonna scout immediately cross.
Oh,
Guess right. A little bit fancy there, so he's actually going to arrive at his opponent's base first.
yeah. This could get him in as well, because that zealot is probably not going to be out blocking the ramp in time. Indeed, I don't think it's going to be. So that probe is just going to make its way in. I'm curious though. I don't know if gotunk could send that probe out at the center timing. Oh, we could just see the zealot block the ramp. Oh no, not quite. If that probe had head out at the standard timing, I think that would have fooled Trix, and he would have been turning his scout around to scout bottom left-hand corner instead. But as it is, that scout is late enough that it looks like it came from there anyway. So Trix proceeds and heads on into the main base of gotunk, and he's going to get a full scout. Very, very close stuff. We almost saw that complete denial there from Trix. Not very happy.
Yeah. I think actually scouting cross might have been a little bit of a function of scouting so late. Just because his opponent hadn't reached him yet, it was slightly more likely that his opponent was cross than either of the closer locations. That might have been why he went for it.
No, that's good. Yeah, I like that. That's good stuff.
The mind games get so ridiculously complicated for scouting. For something as simple as just sending a probe out to scout.
Yeah, it's so important though, isn't it? I mean, it can make all the difference.
Very important.
All the while we have two zealots being produced from Trix. That's a little bit interesting, especially given these cross positions, so there won't be any real harass possibilities going on with those. We'll see what he decides to do. It's probably just a kind of safety thing. But of course it can be used aggressively if you push out with 2 dragoons and 2 zealots against 3 dragoons. Often you can be in a pretty decent position. We do have a probe scout actually getting back into gotunk space, so Trix going to see what's up. It's pretty normal stuff. Not seeing that robotics going down, but I think he'll probably assume as much given that he sees the dragoon range coming in and no citadel happening either. Whilst at the other side of things we also have a robotics being thrown down quite close to the ramp. So we could see from both these actually walking reavers out to the natural, but we have yet to see.
Yeah, that was a pretty substantial mistake from gotunk. It's a bit too hard to expect a zealot to be able to block a ramp all by itself, especially the fat ramp that's on circuit breakers. But he had 2 goons out. There was really no excuse for allowing that probe to get the scout off. So it does allow Trix to know that gotunk isn't doing anything particularly fancy. Might allow Trix to get a little bit more greedy in whatever kind of build he's doing. Might have a particular variation that gets out 1 or 2 extra probes.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we didn't see Trix pushing out off 2 dragoons and 2 zealots though. It might have actually worked pretty nicely for him. It would be the customary thing, but decided not to, I guess because of the cross position. But all the while we have very, very similar builds happening from these 2 guys. We have, let me see, we don't actually have a robotics support bay coming in from gotunk yet. We haven't going straight to observer, so once again this could be the straight to observer thing. It looks like it is. No reaver mixed in as of yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's going to go straight for his expansion of goons.
And actually Trix doesn't have a robo support, doesn't even have the observatory. Just going straight for a shuttle. So we're going to see some kind of funky aggression from him, possibly involving an elevator? That's...
Maybe, I can't imagine we would.
There we go, finally the robo being thrown down. That was just a really late robo.
Yeah.
I guess...
Yeah, very, very late.
I think he delayed it a little bit, just because there was no reason to throw it down immediately after the robo facility finished, because the shuttle wouldn't be done. But still, it's weird to see a player throw it down that late. Anyway,
well... It might have been delayed because he accidentally had 2 shuttles queued up, so he didn't have the minerals.
Oh. Okay.
Just speculatively, that might be why.
Possibly. Anyway, Reaver is on the way, so it's not anything completely weird. It's just going to be, for Reaver. And getting that early Reaver puts him at, is going to give him a slight advantage over gotunk, whose Reaver is late and also waited for an observer to come out. Won't have a shuttle if Trix decides to attack that early expo. But Gotunk does have an observer, so he will be able to hover over Trix' army, know exactly what Trix is going to do, and should be able to react accordingly.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look over the facts of this game. I'm not quite sure why Trix has opted to go for more of an offensive style than a defensive style, especially on this map. Having to cross those bridges is no mean feat, and you can easily get funneled into a bottleneck if you choose to go down the big ramp. So it's a little bit of a strange decision, especially given that this puts his economy quite significantly behind. We have the Nexus already up for Gotunk, whilst nothing of the kind for Trix. But Trix is indeed choosing to push out right now with a good number of Dragoons and a Reaver in a shuttle. So we'll see how this works out for him. If carefully micro, this could go pretty well. We have the first Reaver coming out now for Gotunk. But if that's focused down well by Trix's Reavers, there's nothing really too much he can do. And that's pretty much the one way in which Trix can really make this pay off.
Trix avoiding the trap of going over the double bridge, going to spend a little bit of extra time going around, and now Trix has a big advantage in this battle of having a shuttle compared to Gotunk's lone Reaver. Gotunk needs to be very careful of having that the exact correct position, not too far back where it can't do anything, not too far forward where it's possible to be sniped. Trix going to take out that pylon so that when his Dragoons engage, they won't accidentally get caught on it. And it looks like Gotunk's going to try to engage here. The Reaver's a little bit too far back, though, not going to be participating. Still had neither Reaver actually fired a shot. And oh no! Oh, just barely being able to pick that up, and the shuttle gets sniped anyway. So the Reaver will get sniped. Big mistake from Trix allowing that to be sniped, and Gotunk's Reaver is still going to live, and actually Gotunk's Reaver got more Scarab shots off than Trix's did. A big mistake. Oh, but Gotunk is going to lose his Reaver anyway, so Trix managing to get out there with a couple of Dragoons. Not a complete disaster, but still not a good engagement at all for him, losing that Reaver.
No, not in any way a good engagement. I mean, it just seems so unnecessary. He let the shuttle run away from it. All he needs to do is keep his eye on it. It's like he went home to macro or something just at the wrong time. If he'd have had those gateways hotkeyed, he wouldn't have had any such trouble. But Gotunk's able to hold on, so this puts Gotunk in a nice position. He has that natural up a lot earlier. Already has another Reaver out, but both players do. So this sees the supply count at 53 for Trix and 73 for Gotunk, so we can see just how much that early expansion is paying off. And whilst that could have worked out so well for Trix, his micro wasn't at all careful enough. That's a real shame, actually, to see that chance go by the wayside so easily.
It's a 20 supply lead, and a lot of that supply is actually in probes, as Gotunk got its expansion down so much faster. It's... yeah, Trix is going to have a little bit of a difficulty getting back. Just the size of this map and the way that the micro battles work out, it's kind of harder to make a comeback in PvP on this map than it is on some other ones. And Gotunk's actually moving out now. Huge line of Dragoons and a shuttle with a Reaver, and it looks like the tables have been turned, as this time Trix does not have a shuttle to help out his Reavers, but Gotunk has so many more Dragoons than Trix does. It's going to be very hard for Trix to hold off.
Yeah, and Trix might actually be able to...
That Reaver's very far forward. Why is that Reaver so far forward?
Looks like... Oh, he take out the shuttle. He does manage to take out the shuttle, so if he micro as well, he could be able to actually hold on here. The two Reavers could be instrumental. It's a shame he doesn't have a shuttle, and it looks like the numbers from Gotunk are going to be enough to push all the way in anyway. He's able to overwhelm the two Reavers and the Dragoon force. Not well enough microed, unfortunately, by Trix and the GG. Out it goes. And we will go on to the next game here. Gotunk manages to take out Trix very convincingly there.
Yeah, that was a pretty big mistake from Gotunk, allowing that Reaver to go down so quickly, but Reavers aren't quite that good that let you overcome having a third of as many Dragoons as your opponent. They're good, just not quite that good.
Yeah, you'd have to be up a great big ramp and have all kinds of fun junk backing you up.
So, game number 2, once again on Circuit Breakers. This time we're going to have Ronin versus Trutacz. So, I'm going to host that game right now. I'd like to give myself a big pat on the back. I have not hosted Fighting Spirit once today.
Oh yeah, good stuff. I'd like to second that. Very nice.
Alright. So, Trix versus Trutacz.
Okay, here we go. So, spawning in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have Ronin coming in as the teal Protoss, and in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, coming in as the blue Zerg, we have ISL 3 trutacz, as he spells it. I'm not quite sure why he's done that. That's a little bit strange. Good luck putting it into the overlay. For anyone who's not quite sure what's going on or not quite sure what's going to be coming up, head on over to altitudeisl.net and just have a look at all results, standings, and upcoming bits and bobs. And from there, you can also link and play the game of our fantastic main sponsor, which is, of course, Altitude the Game. So big thanks to them once again. Also, I encourage you, if you have not already, to head on over and to upvote the Reddit thread, because that helps us, which means it helps Brewport, and I've now linked it to the stream chat, so go and check that out if you have just a minute to do so.
What's even weirder, though, is that phonetically there's no A in trutacz, yet there are 4 capital A's.
Or, yeah. He's gone mad. He's gone mad.
Those damn
Maybe he
Polish.
just fell over on his keyboard when he was making his name.
Alright.
His finger just slipped and it went, ah.
So, we have trutacz versus Ronin. I think that this is a very favorable matchup for trutacz, not just because he's very good versus Protoss, but his style matches up very well against Ronin's. Trutacz is a very aggressive player, likes to do a lot of damage with early lings, possibly early Mutalisks as well, kind of in the vein of South Park, as they are 2v2 partners. And Ronin is known as a macro-oriented Protoss, that very vague, generic moniker given to B+ level Protosses, where he doesn't have the best micro, but if you let him get to a late game, he can start to do some really good damage. But trutacz doesn't like to let games go that long. So I think that Ronin has to be very, very fearful of trutacz's early lings here.
Yeah, I think he definitely does. As you always do when you're doing an unconventional build order like this, you can generally be pretty safe. I'm curious to see whether we'll see trutacz turn around with that Overlord, having seen that there is nothing of a natural, but he shouldn't do so. He should be prepared for a one-base kind of opening. What I'm most interested about, though, is to see whether this is a pressure-oriented build or expansion-oriented build. Oh, we're losing the scouting probe there.
Yeah.
Slight error in micro, wasn't really necessary. But yeah, I don't know whether this is going to be offensive or more kind of defensive and techy. We're going to wait for that next pylon to come up. It looks like it's probably going to be relatively defensive. If he was going all out to try and kill the Zerg early on, he probably would have foregone that pylon, thrown down a second zealot first, and then stuck at the pylon, because you can afford to be a little bit supply blocked at that point. But yeah, firstling's on the way now.
Obviously, if with proper micro, Ronin should not have a problem against these lings. But without cannons there, he just has to be very, very careful about constantly maintaining a wall at the ramp, not letting those Zerglings run by. And that's what trutacz excels at, getting those Zergling run-bys. And those Zealots are actually coming quite far out. trutacz is backing off. Needs to be very careful to not let them get sneak around.
Yeah, I think trutacz is a little bit worried about a kind of zealot counterattack here. We have a couple more zealots coming in from the gateways, and it is indeed going to be more of a kind of pressure-oriented kind of thing. I don't advise that you push it out with just these 3 zealots. You should probably wait for 2 more. 5 zealots is a very, very strong count when you're fighting against early game numbers of Zerglings.
Yep. Hatchery coming down for trutacz. He's not going to put it at an expansion, though. Just going to build the very close 3rd hatchery, just because he's a little bit afraid of zealot pressure at this point. And what? We got something from Ronin. He's throwing down a very forward pylon as these Zerglings go in for the engagement. They're trying to get a surround on the Zealot, but Ronin doing some nice micro here. He's not actually going to lose any of these Zealots. Not a single one. All of them in red health. And this pylon's going to be able to finish so he can build cannons or shield batteries or whatever he planned on. Although he did lose the probe. Zealots rushing in here, finally losing the first Zealot now, but managing to take out the Sunken Colony. And trutacz, in the exact opposite fashion of what I was trying to describe at the beginning, is in a lot of hurt here. These Zealots are coming into the base.
Yeah, this is a very, 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 very bad situation for a Zerg player. trutacz is going to have hard work to actually flush these out. Ronin being a little bit careless with his Zealots. I think he should have pulled them back and waited for reinforcements. However, he does have more coming into the natural. He has a fresh probe there as well, so he might be able to throw down some cannons, or as you say, whatever on earth he's planning to do. And he's got those 2 Zealots positioned nicely behind the behind them. Oh yeah, no forge. So it is going to be a shield battery. There we go, his true intentions are finally revealed. A couple of zealots bashing away at that creep colony. He probably needs to make sure he gets rid of those zerglings as well. He's lost a lot of health unnecessarily on that one zealot. But coming in back into the main as well with those two zealots, managing to take out quite a few drones. One drone goes down. Will another drone go down? Yeah, 2 and 3 drones going down now. And all the while, Trutacz doing his best to try and defend at the front. The shield battery is now in. Does it have any energy to start with? I'm not for sure it does. So he should be able to heal up those zealots just as soon as he needs to. Letting one go down, however, he needs to micro more carefully than that. Finally doing so and using his shield battery to full effect. Will it be enough that the zealots are going to be right on the edge? Will it be enough? It looks like it will. Just managing to hold it, but all the while he's made absolute mincemeat of the Zerg's main. And this is a very, very daring rush, which looks like it's definitely going to pay off for Ronin. And will he be able to take out the Sun Colony with the probe? Will he?
Oh,
yes! The probe gets the kill, and GG from trutacz. Very, very well played game there for Ronin.
Wow, Ronin just stomped all over trutacz, who is the favorite to get out of a pure Protoss group. All of a sudden sent it to the loser's side.
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
That was very, very nicely executed from Ronin there. We saw some great micro coming off to actually keep most of those 5 zealots alive in that first little engagement. He absolutely made them pay for themselves 10 times, and then they really cleared up the Zerg in the main base afterwards.
Best part of that, though, is that even if the initial 4 zealots had not been microed as effectively, the Zerglings had managed to pick some of them off. He could have just taken the 2 survivors back and expanded behind that. He would have had some more zealots back there. That was not all in at all. He definitely had some follow-ups there, but realized he didn't need them. Went for the forward shield battery / gateway. And just dominated. Absolutely dominated that game.
That forward shield battery just kind of helped him clear things up. I mean, right at the end there, it was actually a little bit important, because otherwise the Zerg might have been able to get a foothold back. Probably not, though, given that he lost so many drones in the main while he's been forced to multitask. But nonetheless, it was cool stuff.
Alright. So, we're going to go on to the winner's match, Gotunk versus Ronin.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be cool stuff. So what's Ronin going to be doing? Is he going to play crazy again, or do you think he's going to take it to a more standard kind of game?
I think he's going to play it more standard, just because PvP is a little bit more his style. That's going to be my guess.
Okay, well, we'll see if you have to eat your words or whether you're going to be spot on. At the top of the map, spawning in as the red Protoss, we have ISL 3 gotunk. In the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have ISL 3 Ronin spawning in as the purple Protoss. The map is Aztec. Is it called Aztec? I think it's called Aztec.
Indeed
yes, it is called Aztec. So this is, of course, the reverse ramp thing going on again. We see mineral-only base, very accessible. So once again, we see a lot of defensive plays from Protoss, especially since it's very, very important that you get out to the top of your ramp and hold there, otherwise you can get contained in your main base. So you need a good number of units early on in the match, and then to kind of maintain a decent Reaver defense throughout the mid-game.
You're always asking me what I think about what's going to happen. What do you think, Elegant? What do you think is going to happen this game?
What I think is going to happen, I think Gotunk is going to be playing standard. I definitely think Gotunk is going to be playing standard, but I would expect Ronin to break out something a little bit different, because Gotunk is just a little bit more of a kind of household name and things, and I'd be worried to face him if I was Ronin. So yeah, I'm going to call something a little bit non-standard from our purple Protoss here, whereas I think we're going to see normal things from Gotunk.
Alright. Well, as you said, Gotunk, a very, very strong player, quietly becoming one of the best Protosses in all of 4 in Brood War. I mean, there are a couple more household names ahead of him, but just looking at his results, so constant, so good at just being a solid player. That's a pretty intimidating thing for Ronin to have to go up there as a relatively unknown.
Yeah, and that's just why I think he's going to be mixing up the game plan a little bit. I don't think he'll want to let Gotunk play whatever the hell he's planned. And we do in fact have a 2-gate coming in already from Ronin. Maybe they're going to be hidden there, maybe they're not. Will the probe see it? I'm not quite sure. I think the probe will just about be seeing it. Yes, The probe is going to see it. I was questioning for a minute there whether it was going to miss it and assume a proxy of some kind, but it does not in fact do so. But yeah, Ronin's going to be trying to break out the aggressive stuff right away. Throwing down a pylon as well, so they're not having to cut any probes out just yet in order to get that super early second zealot.
Yep. Cute move, my Ronin there. by putting the gateways flush with this wall, if the probe had just gone in, he could have over panicked and expected a proxy, and then gone and scouted out. But he didn't hide it in the back here because he didn't want to make it so the zealots had to walk all the way over the cross of the base, which would really hamper his aggressive opportunities. So, a cute little thing. It's not going to be a detriment, but it's one of those things that isn't going to be a detriment, yet could have a really nice result for you. Ooh, almost getting that probe. Not quite. 1 hit point.
Yeah, it looks like this is going to be kind of a more early mid-game orientated kind of thing from Ronin. We see he's already thrown the gas down, so it's not going to be a super kind of big zealot all-in early game kind of thing. He's just going to want to get out on the map with the first 3 or 5 zealots, and from there be able to take it into a relatively strong position whereby he can, hopefully, for him, contain gotunk in his ramp a little bit.
Yeah, and on a reverse ramp map, you gotta really respect that. 3 or 5 zealots at the top is going to make it really hard for gotunk to push out. Even with dragoons supporting from the back, dragoons do so little damage to zealots, coupled with they won't have vision, coupled with the high miss percent chance. So I really like what Ronin's going to try to set up here, as long as he doesn't get too aggressive and overcommit against gotunk zealots. A little bit of engagement.
I think it's a good idea.
Oh. Nice move by gotunk there, sniping the probe. Realized he's going to lose that battle eventually.
Yeah,
and
that was necessary. And he loses quite a lot of hit points on that, though. Not too much of a critical problem. However, we could see Ronin get himself into a nice little position here. One of gotunk's zealots wandering off, somewhat misguided, and we have a couple of reinforcing zealots coming in for Ronin as well. He's managing to hold gotunk, just holding at the top of that ramp for now, so that gives him a decent position. And if gotunk is unable to break up here, then this could mean real trouble going into the early game. He's going to have slightly earlier dragoons. He has 1 dragoon out already. Dragoon range is pretty even though, and Ronin's first 2 dragoons are on the way. They're going to be heading to the opposition main base quite soon.
Yeah. All of a sudden, this is looking really difficult for gotunk to break out of. 5 zealots here are going to be able to tank a lot of damage compared to 3 zealots, 2 dragoons. And then once Ronin's 2 dragoons get there, oh no! Oh! Ignore everything I've said about that having no drawback. That's actually a significant mistake. Ronin's gonna get his contain challenged here as gotunk moving up with his dragoons. Good job getting them into position, but it doesn't matter, and that's what I meant. You have to take so much damage getting into position that all of a sudden all the zealots are gone, and then your dragoons micro back to the bottom of the ramp. But without the dragoons coming up from Ronin here, he actually can't capitalize on that. There was
no. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a terrible mistake. Blocking in a dragoons meant that battle just completely swung the other way. That would have made a massive difference, and that's really very unfortunate. He should probably have accounted for this.
Yeah, forced to destroy his own pylon and unpower. He's actually going to unpower his gateways for quite a while here. I think he thought that pylon was going to warp in a little bit faster. That's just compounding to the mistake.
Yeah,
and
this is
really delaying that. Oh, Ronin looking pretty sloppy at this point.
Yeah, he's supply blocked as well at the time. I mean, finally he's unsupply blocked now, and that top gateway is still unpowered. Ronin, how would you not know this? He's going to have to lay down another pylon just in order to power that. So his dragoons are coming out at half speed right now. This is really shaken up play from him. It seems he's really kind of lost his grip a little bit there on his building placement. He's having to throw down another pylon when he doesn't quite even need one yet. So that's going to harm his dragoon count even more than it already is. Not producing any units at all at this point, just trying to get his economy into place.
This extra mineral spent on pylons he doesn't need. The unpowering of these gateways means that Jumper is going to have a dragoon advantage, but it's not going to be a long-term dragoon advantage. It's just going to be a little bit of a dragoon advantage until Ronin can use the extra money he was forced to store. That's not a mistake you'd expect your opponent to make. So
no.
It's something that Ronin might just be able to get away with because gotunk has no way of realizing that mistake was made. We'll have to see.
Yeah, gotunk would have to be very speculatively kind of pushing out to see that, wouldn't he?
Forge is done, Templar Archives is done, the first DTs are on the way, but Ronin went for a 4-gate and he has no detection. Uh-oh.
Oh no. Oh no, this could really be it for Ronin. I mean, these DTs are coming in. It's going to be so long till he can get anything up that can deal with this. I realistically don't think he's going to be able to do anything. DT's taking two different paths just in case there is an observer at one or the other. There is an observer at neither. And Ronin's still not noticing these DTs, because if he had, he would be moving these Dragoons back to block his ramp or GGing, one or the other. And now he is going to see exactly what's going on, and he's going to see quite how much trouble he's in. GG from Ronin. Completely outplayed there by gotunk.
Oh, man, that... Ronin, like, for how good he looked in his first game, that's how bad he looked in his second game. Just...
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
Aside from a nice contain, nothing went right at all for him.
No.
Nothing at all.
And yeah, he had nothing to do except GG out at that point. He just looked so completely defeated. And I'm glad to say I called it. Absolutely standard stuff happening from gotunk, whilst at the other side, Ronin trying something a little bit crazy, which just did not come off at all from him.
Very nice. Very nice. Clearly demonstrating your mastery of knowledge in the PvP matchup.
What can I say?
Alright, so going into the losers match, Trix versus trutacz.
Joining up now.
And we'll have to see if trutacz can work his way back here. I still think trutacz has a good chance to get out of this group. Beating Trix and then beating Ronin is completely possible for him. But we'll have to see if he can...
Absolutely.
We'll have to see what kind of mental toughness he has. Shaking off a loss like that can be difficult for some players. So hopefully he can just take that loss out of his mind, focus down, and play the game he knows.
Yeah, exactly. So we're ready to go into this next game.
Indeed, game has been started. Trix versus trutacz on Aztec.
Okay, awesome. Top of the map, spawning in as the green Protoss, we have ISL 3 Trix. And in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, spawning in as the purple Zerg, we have ISL 3 trutacz. If you haven't already done so, please head on over and upvote our Reddit thread, which I will link in the stream chat in just a second. And also, please go on over to altitudeisl.net, where you can see all the standings, results, group stages, etc. And you can also link straight to the website of our main sponsor, altitudethegame.com.
So, once again, we're gonna see PVZ on Aztec. I don't think Aztec particularly falls in line with trutacz's style. It's not really. It's a map that really favors the late game and not being super aggressive on Zerg's part. So we'll have to see if he can do it a little bit better than Dyslexic did in his game versus Wallace. Because that's an example of how not to do early aggression.
Also curious to see if we can see a better wall-in from Trix. I just want someone to wall in well in this position. He can lay down the forge underneath that pylon next to the little map doodad, and then lay down a gateway to the right-hand side on top of it, which could actually be pretty good, because then the cannon is very, very well defended below the pylon, shielded by the forge and the gateway. He might actually do exactly that. Please do it, just for me. Please, Trix. Please be Gosu. Trix, in fact, scouting the wrong way, but he was always going to do so, of course, given Zerg vs Protoss scouting patterns. Not that he's missing anything completely sensational, because we have a perfectly standard spawning pool timing coming in from our Zerg player.
Right. Looks like an overpool out from trutacz, and Trix shouldn't have any problem defending against this, assuming that he doesn't do anything silly, like going for a blind Nexus first. We have seen that occasionally from Protosses, and it tends to not work out well versus the overpool, but
yeah.
Just gonna wait a little bit longer for that probe to get in. I think based on the hatchery health, he should know that it was an early Ling build, and now he sees them. So he will be throwing down at least one cannon, possibly even two. Yes, two cannons going down, and those should be able to finish in time before the Lings can get there. Ooh.
Yeah, and of course he doesn't do the walling, which I wanted him to do, but I won't hold it too much against him. And in just a second he'll be able to throw down the Nexus as well. Laying down two cannons, probably a decent enough choice, just to be safe from run-bys or any kind of weird little no-speed 8-ling burst kind of things, which can take Protoss by surprise at any moment if he's not well prepared.
Indeed, trutacz is in fact building 8 Lings. So, that's not a particularly closed-off wall. Ah, there's the gateway. Okay, so there is a gap on the right side here. There's a gap in between those two, and well, losing those 2 Zerglings means that 8-lings have a very small chance against 2 cannons. 6-lings certainly not. So never mind. Just gonna sacrifice those 2 lings to get the scout off on the wall. Realize he can't really do anything much, and those 2 extra lings he built are gonna hurt his economy just slightly, but nothing really big.
Shouldn't be too much of a problem. Now transferring out to his natural, laying down a 3rd as well down at the bottom right hand corner. So of course looks like he's going to be playing more turtley style, getting ready to defend up at that choke point, and then lay down another expansion in the main base as well. So we'll see how Trix can do against this. We've already seen some unfortunate stuff happen to Wallace with similar kind of things happening where he's unable to make good use of harassment techniques. So that's going to be quite important for Trix throughout this game, and we'll see how he progresses with that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely Aztec is a map that is very, very good for shuttle harass. If you want to see examples of that, watch nearly any Schnitzel game PvZ on this map. Watch any Mazur game PvZ on this map. They are masters of using their High Templar in new and interesting ways to make Zerg's life miserable. There are so many opportunities, and if you're not exploiting all the different ways you can use drops, you're almost playing this map wrong. You just got to do it to find ways to do damage to Turtling Zerg's economy.
Yeah, absolutely. You really, really do. Because otherwise, yeah, bad stuff happens to you, as we saw with poor old Wallace. May he rest in peace.
Oh, mistake from trutacz there, letting the probe in. It's gonna be killed off, but it sees the lair, and it's more of a what it didn't see. It didn't see a fast hydraulic den. So,
yeah.
It's one of those things where you're playing the game, you just go, aww. It won't make a difference, but you kind of feel bad about making that early mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit weird he actually let that probe, and he could have easily just blocked the ramp with 1 or 2 seconds, but he didn't. But it wouldn't have too much of a huge effect on the game. Anyway, we already have the gas going down for Trix, which means it's probably not going to be a super early kind of High Templar kind of play. He does already have the Citadel going down, a probe freaking out in between the Citadel and the Stargate. I don't know if he's trapped that intentionally so he can stack up his Corsairs, or whether that's a mistake, a useful mistake. Look at this, he's going crazy.
I've never seen a probe get so trapped by, get trapped that long like that, spam out in that way.
Panicking.
I don't think it was intentional, because they only spam out like that when they're trying to return minerals.
Yeah.
So he, yeah, a little bit of a mistake there, trapping his probe.
Yeah, I must be claustrophobic or something, because that pro's pretty much lost it.
Anyway, very fast speed on the way. Speed will be finishing a bit before the +1 finishes, so it won't be the kind of timing where they finish exactly the same, but instead opting to get that faster Citadel. And trutacz, meanwhile, playing everything exactly by the book that was written on this map. As hatcheries 4 and 5 are under construction, the spire is under construction as the Corsair gets there. So, trutacz has successfully made it to the mid-game of a PvZ.
Good times for trutacz, good times for the Protoss. And yeah, it's kind of good for Protoss, because usually when the game ends early on, we see it end for the Zerg and not ending well for Protoss. Unlike we saw before for trutacz, obviously, but the first Corsair is now not going to be able to take out that first Overlord. I don't know if we have Scourge out yet. Did you see any Scourge? Oh, we do have Scourge out yet. Do we? No, we don't. There's one Scourge egg on the way, so a couple of Overlords are going to be taken out. It looks like he's going to be able to grab 2. Yeah, 1 in each Corsair. You should probably pull those Corsairs back into the cover of cannons right now. And interested to see exactly how he uses these Zealots. He's got speed on the way, and he's got +1 coming in fairly quickly as well. He's gone for a slightly early high Zealot count, so this means he's going to be trying to push the 3rd and 2nd now, but this should be alright for trutacz, because he's already got those 2 Sunken Colonies up, so he should be perfectly safe against this kind of 5 Zealot little speculative kind of push. Not too bad of an idea though, nonetheless, from our Protoss player, because it just gets him out a little bit onto the map, which keeps us guessing a little bit more than he otherwise would, maybe force him to make some earlier Lings and Hydralisks rather than continue to drone up for much longer.
trutacz was actually very fast with double Sunken Colony there. He had those finished before his front Scourge or front Zergling saw the Zealots move out. So he was already a bit fearful of a Zealot timing at that a Zealot attack at that timing. but it's going to work out for him as he doesn't need to worry about them doing any damage. Trutacz actually getting the second evolution chamber, so he's going to be... I mean, he hasn't quite thrown down his 4th base yet, but it looks like he's intending and turtling in pretty hard here and getting some good upgrades before moving out.
Yeah, and Trutacz is heading over with those skirts to check if there was some kind of incredibly cute fast 3rd base going down in the mineral early for Trix. No such thing is happening, however, and he sees that with his scout. We have a decent number of zealots coming into the bottom right hand base, but they're going to be turned away fairly easily by 2 well-sim city sunken colonies with a handful of troops thrown in there just for good measure. And it looks like Trutacz is getting ready to kind of come together and move out on the map a little bit, which has been a fairly long time coming. Given that he would have wanted some presence a little bit earlier with his Hydralist numbers.
He doesn't need to be careful. The high number of zealots and even a DT out for Trix means that if Trutacz isn't microing carefully, or if he catches his Hydralisks pressed up against a piece of the map geography that he can't get around, he could get his Hydralist traps. But no. It looks like all the zealots are going to pull back. It was going to be pretty hard for them to find any Hydralists to pick off. And Trix isn't going to actually lose any of them. So no damage done with the early zealots, but at the same time, nothing lost.
Yeah, and nothing ventured, nothing gained. It was well worth a try just to see if he could actually do any damage. This probably isn't a very good idea for Trutacz to try and push up this ramp, but having said that, he does have the ranged units versus the zealots, which means that he will be able to get vision and then get shooting up. However, down the bottom right-hand corner, we do have a few Corsairs hanging over, but there's not a single Overlord for them to catch. Interesting to note that Trutacz has 2 evolution chambers, only one of them working, but in the meantime, we do have Trutacz going for a little bit of a burst. This could be a mistake for Trix, having not laid down any extra cannons in order to defend. Some nice storms happening, but I don't know if it's going to be enough, because he only has 2 cannons and he really needs to throw down some more right away. He has some spare minerals, which he should have been doing just that a good minute or so ago when he saw the Hydralist numbers coming in. That +2 weapons is not going to get anywhere near its completion. Now throwing down some panic cannons, but he needs another forge coming in right away. Looks like those Hydralists are going to pull back, and Trix does just about have enough units to be able to see those off if they were to try and continue attacking. But a little bit of a panic moment there from Trix, and Trutacz being a good kind of opportunistic player, managed to dart in there and mess with Trix's head just a little bit.
Wow. Trutacz actually has triple Evo chambers now, with one of them not getting anything. He's really going very upgrade heavy, and it's kind of weird to see him go for such an upgrade heavy style while having such a map presence with the Hydralisks. Normally you'd want to, if you're going to be this aggressive with your Hydralisks, you'd want to save that gas for extra Hydralisks or to get the Lurker upgrade, which would be quite nice right now.
Yeah, I think he's just going for a kind of super Hydralist kind of play, as far as I can tell.
But right now the real issue for Trix is that he has no High Templar, some of them just coming out of the gateways, but with just 50 energy means it's going to be a while before they can get storms off, and the next attack from Trutacz is going to come in very soon here, like right now. Zealots are going to need to tank a lot of damage here. Nope, attacking his own gateway. Okay, good. He realizes what he's doing. If he had taken out his own gateway, that would have actually been a huge mistake.
Yeah, that would have been very, very problematic. It looks like his Corsairs might get caught here, all taking a lot of Hydralist hits. Doesn't quite lose one. No, they do manage to actually get away with all their lives intact. One of them looking extremely damaged though. There are a couple of Overlords hanging around to the left-hand side of the map, which could be fairly easily taken out. A couple on the right as well. If he's just a little bit more active with those Corsairs and keeps them kind of searching, keeping his money quite nice and low. But once again, we see a Protestant in this uncomfortable position where he's kind of boxed in, and that is really the benefit of these big Hydralists kind of played. And you can see how many Hydralists he's getting in so quickly. Look at that big army he's got. At least 3 control groups in there just milling around, making ready, so he can beat the Protoss back as he tries to get out to take a 3rd base.
Yep, and Trutacz's 6 hatchery has gone down well in front of the Sim City at the Natural, so he is showing a pretty strong commitment to aggression here. He's just going to rally in lots and lots of Hydralisks with some nice upgrades. Oh, almost killing one of his own Hydralisks. But still, I guess he just made a mistake with that extra Evo chamber. Because
I think so,
melee upgrades...
We saw it earlier in the game too.
Yeah, melee upgrades really... He's not getting melee upgrades, and melee upgrades really wouldn't help him in this situation. Zerglings aren't going to be a huge issue. Interesting, Trutacz getting the +1 carapace for the Overlords, making them a little bit beefier, but surprising considering no Mutalisks and very, very few Scourge.
Just kind of upgrading everything at this point. Those Corsairs still doing a nice job roaming around. The Protest army happening upon a little Zerg strike force, which manages to take out fairly easily. And this could actually be a good moment for Trix to engage. Trutacz still waiting for his lurkers to warp in, excuse me, to hatch in. And seeing this, Trix tries to do a little bit of damage, but he's unable to do so and is forced to pull back with his army. But however, it is good that he's now outside of his natural, and he is able to try and get a third up wherever he sees fit. Probably at this gas base right here, even though it is a little bit too exposed, maybe.
The hive for trutacz is actually just finishing now. Yep, there we go.
Yeah.
Finishing now. So that's a relatively fast hive for trutacz. Maybe he will be using the triple evo chamber and start getting some crackling upgrades. I thought he was going to be a little bit more committed to this hydraulic progression. It's kind of weird to see him go for hive off of 3 bases in this faction.
Yeah. Oh no, and all the Corsairs getting thrown away there for Trix. A little bit cheaply, just find them all straight into Hydralisk fire.
Well, very scary armies for both players. If either player is caught just even a little bit out of position, the attack could be really bad. And this might be the little bad position that I was talking about. Trix and his entire army isn't quite up yet, so Protoss is going to get a really good engagement here. There's no storm. Where are the storms? There's the Templar finally getting there. But it was a little bit too late. Gonna miss most of the Hydralisks. There's a storm going down, just hitting a couple of the lurkers though, not hitting the huge pack of Hydralisks I think he wanted to get. And now, the Hydralisks are being forced back as there's a bigger Protoss force, but, ooh, could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, Trix doing a really nice job though, keeping his macro up, keeping his army big, and that's what enabled him to really push the Zerg forces back there, given that his storms weren't exactly ideal. But now he's got the opportunity to keep pushing and keep some presence out in the middle of the map, so he can keep the Zerg armies kind of separate and split. We can see that there's another army kind of massing up at the Zerg's natural expansion, whilst the remnants of that previous one are massing over at his third natural. And it's quite interesting to see how he makes use of this. I mean, he's got to keep his army split up, otherwise suddenly it becomes a little bit more difficult for him again. And I'm not sure that this is a good idea for Trutacz pushing this army out from the bottom right-hand corner, but if he can manage to get it in at the same time as he has that army coming in from the top left, he can get a really nice sandwich on the Protoss stuff, and possibly even get quite a few Templar snipes at the back in the process. And here it is, here comes the big sandwich. Trutacz trying to get a massive flank, and this could be rather well executed. Nice timing from the 2 different forces coming in from different angles. And he's managing to make some light work of some Dragoons at the back as well, and the Protoss army is in complete disarray. He's completely split up, and he's going to have to try and run away, but I don't think it's going to be very possible. He's going to get completely caught here by so many lurkers. Storms going off, but unable to find any close Zerg units. Beautiful move there from Trutacz, managing to get the Protoss army completely surrounded, and he pushes Trix back quite a long way across the map before his momentum is finally stalled.
Man, that was actually a really nice move from Trix. He had an okay number of High Templar, but the units were so fragmented at the beginning of the battle that if he had just burned his storm immediately as the battle started, he would not have had the good storms he needed at the end to save the rest of his army. But because he had restraint, he held off using the storms and then used them at the end when the units finally clumped up. He was able to really take a battle that could have been so much worse.
Yeah, that was bordering on being an absolute disaster, but as it is, it actually turned out fairly well for Trix. But here it comes again. Trutacz is going to be unrelenting. He's going to keep going in. Does he have any storm left? He does not have any storm left. He needs at least 1, preferably 2, 3, or 4, in order to really see off these number of Zerglings. 1 goes down, hardly does any damage. The Zerglings are pulling back, however. He has 1 Archon, and it's going to really help him out. But his army needs to be bigger. His macro is going well, but he just doesn't have the resources up quite yet. He needs to hold on for a little bit longer. If the Zerg gets into that 3rd base, then it's probably going to be all over the Zerg on 4 bases against Trix's 3, against Trix's 2 rather, if that base was to go down.
Yeah, and Trutacz doing a good job controlling such a large army. It gets very difficult at this stage in the game to not let fragments of your army be taken out by the big Protoss ball. But he's managed to keep it all pretty tightly knit and separate off little fragments like this when he needs to, just to attack some key things, stopping that expansion from going down. Meanwhile, as we saw, Trutacz's 4th base set up a while ago and absolutely secure. He's had that Defiler mound up for a while, but we have not seen any Defilers from him. Ultralisks actually now out on the field. Doesn't have any Ultras upgrades for him.
Oh, some speed zealots going into the bottom right-hand corner base, and this is exactly the kind of thing we need to see that I was talking about. And they're probably going to be able to take out the hatchery. Very nice, very cheap move from Trix in order to make sure he stays level economically for as long as possible. Sorry, go on, what were you saying before?
No, absolutely right. doing damage to that hatchery, completely stopping mining, you're probably going to be able to take it out. And now this is just still such a scary army. But here comes a big army from trutacz at the same time, moving across with his units. No defilers, though, means that these cannons are going to be able to do a lot of damage, but there are so many units it might not matter if he uses all of them. Reinforcements coming in from the back for Trix to try to save this, and actually, he really doesn't even need the reinforcements. No swarm means that 6 cannons do so much damage to those units. Oh, where are the defilers? He had the defiler bound so long ago.
He's had that tech up for a while. Really surprised he's not making good use of it. He has gas still in the back, not much, but he does have some. Very odd that he chose to kind of just throw one ultralisk in the mix a little bit haphazardly, whereas that could have been a defiler, and that could have really turned the tide of the whole battle. But as it is, Trix now moving out to the map. He's got lots of nice presence. He's got a 4th base going up. If he can hold that, he's going to be in a good place economically. Managing to take out the bottom right-hand main base as well. Super cost-effective, using only a couple of zealots, and still trutacz being unable to flush that out. His economy not looking half as good as it did, and Trix really levering himself into this game very admirably.
The weirder thing is that not only did he get the defiler mount, he got plague and consume. He got both upgrades for the defilers before getting a single defiler out. And now this expo, I don't know what he was thinking trying to expand there, but that's going to be shut down very quickly. Didn't even cancel it. And this big army is looking very scary now. There are 2 defilers here, but little behind the defilers to help out. Just a pack of cracklings. Be easily taken out by a swarm, but here comes some reinforcements from the back. trutacz trying to annoy with packs of cracklings attacking. Oh, but just moving his units through there. Looks like he's going to lose another ultralisk.
Yeah, he might well do as the dragoons fire on it as it goes away. In the very least, it's going to be very great damage, but yes, it does end up going down. So that's another expensive, small but expensive mistake from trutacz. And he's looking in quite a significant amount of trouble, taking an overview of the whole map at once. We can see he's pushed back into a very few select corners, and Trix has it pretty much right where he wants him. No 4th base, so not a huge amount of gas coming in, and plenty of bases on the way up now for Trix. I'm looking for his Reaver tech. I don't know if he has it yet. He does not, but I expect that to be on the way in any minute now. And now starting to produce those big gas units and get some extra Archons out. He's going to have a terrifying Protoss death ball any minute now.
Yeah, trutacz just constantly trying to expand because he's at the point in the game where 4 bases is just not going to cut it. But any space he takes, he's just kind of crossing his fingers that Trix doesn't attack.
Yep.
Because there's no way he can properly defend it. A big engagement going down here, but a good storm softens up a lot of those Zerglings, and there's just so many storms here that he's going to constantly be able to take out the Lings. Storming at one of his own High Templars is a little bit of a mistake, but still. There's just so much storm here, so many strong units, and no defilers to stop that large number of Dragoons and Archons.
Yeah. And as you say, that army is absolutely terrifying, and trutacz sort of skirting around the edges of not really able to do anything. He's going in for a big push on it now. He might be able to get a good position. There's quite a lot of Dragoons, not really any speed stats to just kind of shield things off. Nice storm going down though, taking out a lot of Zerglings. That High Templar is going to die, but it has done its job. Might actually live to fight another day. Plague going down on so much stuff. But there are still a good number of Dragoons and Archons in there which are able to do plenty of damage to the remaining Zerg forces and push him all the way back. And Trix macroing well at the same time as well, keeping his minerals nice and low off his 2 mining bases. That's how it's going to be taken out the top left hand corner, but still trutacz unable to find any kind of edgeways here.
Yeah, the supply is not looking good for trutacz here, down by 60. And on even bases with the Protoss, I believe? No, bases being attacked from both players. trutacz looks like a crackling attack is going to be able to finally take out this center expansion, but at the same time, trutacz is going to lose his quote-unquote hidden hatch, and here comes the reinforcements to help out. There are a couple of Lings still attacking it. Oh, just barely being able to take out that Nexus. Very nice. That's actually going to put Trix on only a single mining base with a little bit of a bank to work off of, so that's going to hinder Trix a bit. It was a good attack, but at the same time, you've sacrificed 25 supply in that attack, and now you're at less than half of your opponent. You are going to have a lot of trouble holding off this next huge attack.
Yeah, I don't really like the way Trix spread out his army here, but he should be able to make himself into a good position. I don't think he's really got enough to be able to easily deal with the Zerg ball that's down in the bottom left-hand corner. There's a lot of Lings there, and he has no speed outs whatsoever. Also, his own observers there, managing to get away with it. Yeah, this army being pushed back, both players seeming a bit unwilling to engage there. Meanwhile, yeah, Trix managed to do a good job of taking out that base, doing a little bit of a storm drop as well at the natural Zerg, but of course Zerg has pretty much nothing left, so that's vaguely ineffectual. It would be much better to go for some more shuttle play into the bottom right-hand corner main, which would have really done a hell of a lot of damage. And it looks like the Zerg once again lining up to try and take care of the Protoss army, and he's going to catch a few outlying remnants of it. Nice storm going down there, taking out quite a few Zerglings, but of course Zerglings are almost free, and High Templar are not so much.
Yeah. Trutacz finally casting the first swarm of the game in that last engagement, and I think it's my biggest pet peeve as a commentator to watch Zerg play a late game situation without swarm. It's just so good, and especially against Trix army, so goon heavy for this at this stage in the game. There's really no excuse to not be using more than a single swarm.
Yeah, swarm is good, plague is good, but yeah, you really need that in conjunction, because then these dragoons would be just completely bamboozled, they'd be able to do nothing. Still surprised at how small Trix's army is. I guess that one base is not really able to support too much, but now he's continuing to move around in the middle. I think it's a little bit risky to be all the way out there when the Zerg, actually having said that, the Zerg's economy is crap. He's got one properly mining base and that's it, but still I think it's a little bit risky when he could pretty much be swamped by cracklings at any moment. A few coming in from the top left, they're going to be easily cleaned up, as they're pretty much going to be left out in the cold fighting against Archons.
Yeah, Trix going in for a little bit of harass here, dropping a double Archon drop, while his army is actually being taken care of in the middle of the map. He has a huge supply lead, but his army is so fragmented, he left so much of it at home and in drops that he actually doesn't have a 160 army presence. He is going to be able to win that, but losing a lot of his Dragoons. And these Archons, though, are going to be able to do a lot of damage, already up to 9 kills, killing a lot of those drones, and they're probably going to be able to finish off the hatchery yet again.
Yeah. And that's a really, really big deal, because that's pretty much the only mining base that Trutacz has left. We can see he's kind of got that bottom right-hand natural, but honestly that's barely mining at all. He's got 4 mineral patches, all of them looking incredibly depleted. Those Archons being able to take out that hatchery means that Trix is going to be so far ahead in the economy, and he's going to be able to just pump so many units that Trutacz is going to have a very, very hard time playing against it, especially with the way he hasn't used his tech to full effect throughout the entire game.
Yeah. Trutacz can continue to have these engagements in the middle of the map and still have a little bit of get little successes out of them, but he's just too far behind for these to be positive for him. It's getting dangerously close to triple supply. Yeah, we're getting dangerously close to triple supply. So. As you said, Trutacz on a single mining base, and that will not be mining very long, as there's a combined 500 minerals left there. He hasn't even cleared out the Archon there. There's just nothing Trutacz can do at this point. And
yeah, there's really absolutely nothing he can do. His army being taken out in the middle once again, so Trix is going to be feeling good about that, and the last remnants of Zerg forces mopped up there. Zerg has minerals coming in at an absolute trickle. He's consuming a couple of Zerglings in the bottom right hand corner, but he doesn't even have anything to cover at all with that. The GG from Trutacz. So Trix takes the game. Nice job from him.
Nice job from him indeed. And Trutacz, one of the bigger surprises in these group stages to be eliminated. I thought he was the heavy favorite to get out of this Protoss group, but no, he's gonna 0-2 out.
Wow. I can genuinely say I'm very, very surprised about that. I expected to see much better showing from him. We've seen Trutacz looking very, very strong throughout previous tournaments. But to go out in the group stage is actually pretty surprising.
So, we will be going into the final match of the day. Excuse me. Final match of the day, which is Ronin versus Trix.
Yep.
Ronin versus Trix on Heartbreak Ridge. Alright.
Alright, I am ready to do this. You're ready to do this. As soon as it downloads, let's go! Seems like we're having a little bit of a debate in the chat as well. People messing around with what on earth the maps are going to be.
Maps? I want Fortress.
Yeah.
I know what the maps
People
are.
suggest ridiculous stuff.
I know what the maps are, and I know that Fortress is not one of them, but I like Fortress. Fortress should be a map in more tournaments. And by more tournaments, I mean any tournaments, because no tournament uses Fortress.
Is that the one with the eggs and the weird barriers?
No, that's either Triathlon or Plasma. No, Fortress is the one where it's a grass map. There is no high ground, and there are 4 corner expansions that you can get in with SCVs.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that map. That map's
cool. It's a good map. Alright, we are good. So, on the left-hand side, spawning in as the brown Protoss, we have ISL 3 Trix. And on the right-hand side, spawning in as the yellow Protoss, we have ISL 3 Ronin. So, a little bit of debate going on between the two players, and we'll see what Ronin can break out here. I would expect Trix to be taking this, because he's had such a strong showing so far. But kind of, it'd be very weird if he didn't. Ronin after his last game is going to be feeling a little bit shaken up, I'd imagine.
Two players discussing that, discussing how they're both in the same boat here, not having practiced terribly much before this. But the parallels run a lot longer than that. These two players are actually very similar. They're known as that quote-unquote macro type of Protoss, both rarely used by their respective teams, VTV and LRM. Both relatively unknown players, but solid in their own right. These are very, very similar.
Yeah, definitely. So we could see a pretty big slugfest actually going on here. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Once again, we have a late scout happening actually from Ronin this time, which actually it's not late. It's just super early from Trix. So excuse me, I misspoke. Trix looking like he might be wanting to get a little bit of a mana pile off, trying to do a little bit of probe line harass of his own. But Ronin looking fairly wise to that, and is going to try and be chasing that probe off just as much as he can.
And Trix, there we go. Trix going for the same thing, just a little bit later because he did send out that early probe, so he was going to have just slightly less minerals to do so. And Ronin's finally going to get the scout of his own, heading over towards Trix's base. Certainly not enough time to get the Zealot out to block. So both players should have a scout well into the late stage of the game. And ooh, nice mana pylon, chopping 3 probes. Is Ronin going to be able to glitch one of them out? No, apparently he's not going to try.
I'm surprised actually that he didn't see that coming, because that probe was messing around in his mineral line for quite some time. I would have thought that would be the obvious conclusion, that he was trying to get a mana pylon down. But either way, that Zealot's probably going to head straight back to take care of that pylon, and as well it might. Ronin does have a scout now going into the base of Trix. Managed to take 1 hit from the Zealot, but he should be able to keep that safe for quite some time, at least until Dragoons are out, possibly for a little bit after that. Meanwhile, Ronin, as he should be trying to take out that mana pylon, he's going to be able to do so with the help of his Zealot. But the probe from Trix still milling around, still making its way around the base. He's going to continue to pick up that good scouting information, and all being well, he shouldn't be losing that to the Zealot anytime soon.
Alright. Yeah. So, after mana pylon shenanigans, Trix is actually supply blocked at 18. There we go.
Oh no.
Pylon's warping in, but it's gonna force him to build another gateway if he had wanted to build an extra Zealot instead. Yeah. A little bit interesting there that he used that pylon for supply. But,
yeah, in response, Ronin deciding just to mirror Trix, just to play it nice and safe, throwing down a second gateway of his own, going to take no chances.
Range has started for both players, both just off the ground, so no significant difference between the two.
Yeah, and from here I really expect both players to go up to Reaver, maybe even before expansion. I think that would be a natural progression, because if you don't, you kind of run the risk of the other player doing so and really taking a strong advantage, because you've got a pretty wide open natural here. You've got a lot of routes that a shuttle can take into the main base to harass. So I'd say that it's probably advisable that both these players go for shuttle and Reaver as well, pretty much as early as possible, but we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, Reaver's obviously very strong on this map. Excuse me. Obviously very strong on this map, as there are so many different paths for the Reaver to go in to attack the base, coupled with the fact that it's pretty easy for the Reaver to get back to your own base, or at least it's not horribly difficult. So those two things combined make for Reaver-friendly maps. Ronin hiding this probe up here Probably not going to do anything special with it, but just hiding it up there for scouting information. Trix should scout that out. Just make sure it's not that it wasn't there, but we'll see how long it takes him to realize that there was a guy spying on him.
Yep.
So
it might take him a little while. I see no reason why he's going to scout it there like really soon.
Robo facility down for Ronin. Looking for Trix is tech. He doesn't have any. Instead, going for a third gateway.
Yep.
So, all right. So Ronin will have the tech advantage. We'll have to see whether he goes for OBS or Reaver first. Most likely OBS.
No, I think Reaver, since he's got the probe into the main base now.
Oh, he does have the probe.
And Trix failing to scout that out, and as such, Ronin's going to get the full scout all over Trix's stuff. So that's going to give Ronin a nice advantage, but exactly the same thing happening at the other end of the map for poor Ronin. So Trix heading his probe in from the high ground as well. It's very weird when you get a situation like that where you're doing something tricky and you don't imagine that the other player might be doing the exact same thing, and thus you don't scout for it at all, and then it happens. But either way, we do have the robotic support bay already in for Ronin, and Trix will have seen that, of course, if he selected it with his scouting probe, which I imagine he will have done. Looking in a little bit of a tenuous position at the front of his base, he's got a decent enough number of dragoons, but also a good number of dragoons coming in from the other side of the map for Trix. So we'll see if Trix actually wants to try and get microing in here and take some goons down, or whether he's happy to just sit back and wait.
Yeah, that Reaver's coming out very soon. No shuttle though, so it won't be able to get to the fight necessarily in time if Trix wants to go for an attack immediately, and it looks like he is. I don't think does he have a goon advantage? It's very close either way. Ronin has 2 extra zealots though, so even if there is a slight goon advantage, those are going to make it very difficult. Pretty good micro from Ronin here to continue to pursue, but now he's at a significant disadvantage, behind by 3. No, I think he's only behind by 1 goon now as reinforcements come in. It might be even. But here comes the Reaver, and that's really going to be the difference. Can Trix step forward to snipe it? No, he can't. Going to just back off, though. Might be able to pick off this pylon, which would be nice, but Ronin trying to come up to protect it. Nope, going to lose the pylon.
Ronin has to be out there now, because if he kind of loses his purchase over his natural, then he's going to once again have a very hard time getting out there. So he's got to make sure that Reaver stays alive at all costs. He's got to form good walls with his dragoons, not let his enemy's dragoons just kind of walk forwards and snipe it out at the cost of a few hits. And that's going to be what's really important in keeping him in this game as he goes forward. Meanwhile, we have a robo going down from the other side as well, so the robotic support happening for Trix. So this is very heavy aggressive play, and this could be a little bit bad for Ronin. I'm not sure if he'll be expecting this.
Yeah, Trix is going to be forced to back off though, because it's obviously going to be quite a while before Reavers can possibly get out, much less the shuttle to help out there. Ronin mining out his back minerals, trying to sneak out. It looks like he's trying to sneak out a probe, but messing up with the probe glitch, kind of humorously. Apparently he has forgotten how that works. Need to stack them on top of each other first, not side by side.
Yeah, he needs to get it right in that little corner as well. He needs to get it right in that little nook. But either way, it's not important. He completely gives up and aborts the whole thing. Yeah, and that's probably the right idea. It seems like he kind of lost a handle on how to get that done. But anyway, he's in a decent defensive position now. Silly probe Trix notwithstanding, and he looks like he's making ready to lay down his nexus, but of course it's going to be a little while away yet, since he doesn't have anywhere near enough cash in the bank to do that. Meantime, we do have a scouting probe coming out for Trix just to see what's up. He's going to see nothing too remarkable. He's going to see that they're in both pretty much the same position. However, we do see Trix with a pretty superior goon count, and I wonder if that's going to come to terms later in the match.
Yeah, 10. Not only is there a 10 supply lead for Trix, but Trix's expo is already halfway down, and that's kind of weird considering that there really hasn't been much engagement at this point. It's weird, and not too different of build orders. It's weird to see Trix so far ahead in the supply. But here comes Ronin moving out. He does have a shuttle with 2 Reavers in it, does have a good number of Dragoons. Trix, as we said before, has a little bit more, but no shuttle and only a single Reaver, with more Reavers on the way, but if they walk there, they might actually not get there in time if Ronin wanted to go in. And this could be a pretty close battle. Trix is very spread out with his goons. It's good because he'll avoid Reaver shots, but bad in the sense that he actually won't have all of his Dragoons fighting. Ronin moving through the middle, interestingly.
Yeah, I guess I'm not quite sure why he's doing that. In fact, I guess just trying to mix it up after that scouting probe saw what was going on. But either way, he's kind of wasting some valuable time. That second Reaver is now out, and this can be useful in the engagement. Of course, without shuttle, it does mean that his Reavers can be focused down by the opponent's Reavers, so he better not clump them. But in it goes. Ronin looking like he's going to try and do some damage, but very sensibly pulling back. That is one hell of a lot of goons. I really don't think he's got the wherewithal to actually push in there at all. I think it would be a pretty terrible mistake. A Trix looking like he's actually almost double the number of Dragoons out on the map as Ronin, so that would be a really, really terrible idea to try and engage right now. He's got an observer over there, so he's going to see what's up.
It's Ronin feeling tempted to try to go for some snipes with his own Reavers, considering that he'll have the high ground to obstruct vision if he needs to pull back that far, but Trix is staying just a little bit too far away to make that a viable option. Good for him maintaining that invisible line and staying to the left of it so that he doesn't have to worry about that kind of Reaver harass. Is Ronin? No, okay. I thought Ronin was going to try to slow walk a Reaver all the way over there, but no. He's just sitting at his natural, probably waiting for another, waiting for the shuttle to come back and pick it up. And Ronin's threatening to take a third? Ooh, that's... I don't know if he can take a third. He's going to
take a third?
He's going to have to invest a lot of money into that he can't really afford to. He needs to continue to make eyes, and because he's falling behind so quickly in terms of supply, now almost 30.
Oh, he's also left his Reavers behind, and they slowly walking across the map. If Trix was to push out now, Ronin would find himself completely caught with his trousers down. Those Reavers are going to be making very, very slow progress. However, having said that, there is another Reaver coming in, threatening to do a little bit of harass in the main base of Trix. We're going to see how that goes as the Reaver heads on in. Meanwhile, he's going to try and take up a decent defensive position just in case of the counterattack. Maybe that's kind of a little bit what he's hoping. Maybe he's hoping that Trix will think that he's got no Reavers back at home, whereas in fact he'll have two ready and waiting, but anyone could guess. And an observer sees those two Reavers anyway, so that's not going to be happening. And now Trix, I think he probably sees an opportunity to go and snipe those, and it may well happen for him. He's going to get in on those Reavers as they slowly walk back, and the Reaver harass goes into the main base as well. Very, very smart probe pull, and it also looks like these two Reavers are going to get easily focused down, and Trix is going to be able to take this absolutely by storm if he can make this correctly from here on in. Ronin taking up a decent defensive position. No, can he snipe off that shuttle? Oh, just missing his opportunity a little bit, I feel. He had a really good chance to turn the tide possibly there, but not quite managing to do so. And those two Reavers are going to make it so difficult for poor Ronin at this stage. He's got a few Dragoons coming in from the back, and he's actually doing a pretty good job getting a nice engagement position there, and a few Dragoons coming in to try and deal with those Reavers, but the reinforcements for Trix making all the difference. And it is going to be battle won for our Brown Protoss friend, as Ronin is pushed all the way back into his natural with no army really left to speak of. 82 supply to 54. That's a big supply swing.
Yeah, Trix still has his Reavers alive, still has a huge core of goons, and now will be attacking the Nexus. There is a Reaver that still needs to come back from Ronin, but one Reaver's not going to make the difference here as more and more units are going down. The probes are attacking the Reaver. It's never actually. They might have been able to finish off that Reaver, but they get pulled at the last minute. The Reaver's going to live, and he is taking out some of the Dragoons, but more reinforcements rallying again. Not enough. GG. And Ronin is eliminated. Trix moving on 2-1.
Yeah, there's a useful lesson to get out of that. If you want to win an ISL, don't attack Reavers with your probes. Just practice and win instead. It's much easier.
Indeed. Well, that is going to be the last cast of the day with gotunk and Trix advancing from the group. So, time to thank the sponsors. First sponsor, first and foremost, is Altitude. It's the reason it is the Altitude ISL. Go check out their game and go to altitudeisl.net. To check out all the stuff from the tournament, and you can download their game through that link. Thank you to Sale viewers, to Fairyland, Twitch TV, Trap, Ruskig, Corum Jahalen, Nabopolis, Noise, and Prowler. Some good cast today. As far as casting in the future, the final game of Gambit Cup Season 2 is coming up. Is coming up tomorrow. I will be casting it live at 20 CET. Lmaster will be casting the rest of ISL tomorrow. Infected, TTF, and Technics group, so some very talented players there. Going to see some good TVZ. And yeah, other than that, next week we start group stages. We're going to go right into best of 5 between the best players Foreign Brood War has to offer. And they're going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be some really, really good stuff. I mean, everybody weeding each other out through this stage. It means we're going to see some of the very, very best that we can next week. So yeah, pretty excited for that. Make sure you keep up to date with what's happening at altitudeisl.net and follow this stream if you're going to want to see more, so you can always be alerted whenever the goodness is happening.
Indeed. Alright, I'm going to play the commercial one more time and then sign off. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Alright, goodbye everybody.